Here we go, man. The GoPro is rolling. Welcome to this week's show. Oh, hold on. I gotta get you mounted. What's up, YouTube? Ah, fuck, dude. I'm gonna have to reposition this, I think. Oh, no, we're good. That's good. All right, welcome to this week's show. Crazy Gentleman Podcast. I'm your host, Crazy Gentleman. And this is the 100th episode. Pretty damn cool. We got a bunch of giveaways from a lot of cool sponsors. For everyone who's been listening, kind of knows at this point. Giving a lot of cool shit away. And picked up a few more Patreons. I'm wearing one of their shirts by chance today. This is Kelvis Art. Thank you, Kevin. Oh, and also shout out to No Luck Paintworks. Thank you for jumping on, dude. You're the man, Dan. And I think I'm actually going to see you in a couple months, probably at Loctite's place. Anyways, welcome to the 100th. Thank you, everyone, for hanging in there for 100 episodes. And I guess let's just cut to the chase before I do the actual show intro. Let's do what everyone's been waiting for, man. What do you guys want first? Comment on Instagram. The Lexan or the Kenny's House of Horsepower $1,000 gift certificate. You got Kenny's gift certificate right here for everyone watching on YouTube and Instagram. Your name can be here if you're a lucky member. Or the Lexan. What is everyone saying? I can't see it. I don't think anyone's saying shit. We're down to 4 freaking people. Everyone's bailing, dude. There's everyone for the first minute. All right, we're going gift certificate. That's it. The banker on the Harley has spoke. All right, so here we go. I think the last one was like only 12 people. So in the last few weeks, the first thing that I gave away also for this 100th episode, for anyone new coming on or whatever, was 2 tickets to Mama Tried and a merch pack for Mama Tried. And I can't wait to meet that patron. He's also staying with me at the Airbnb. Kind of a cool perk. Yeah, I wanted to do that early though, so that, you know, they had time to plan this trip. But anyways, pretty cool. Got some more people signed on here. Throwing the chips in these pretty freaking cool panhead valve covers. Do it up. Shake it up. All right. This is crazy, dude. Who's getting $1,000 right here? Number 4. Let's see who number 4 is. Oh, shit. Patrick Long, dude. Longy man. That's a New York native, dude. Here, there you guys want to see it. Number 4. Dude, $1,000. Something tells me that Kenny's going to be getting a shovel head soon. Pretty cool. Patrick rides the fucking wheels off his shovel head. I don't even know if it's in America right now. It might be in Ireland. It's somewhere, dude. That's pretty cool, man. It's a good winner. $1,000. Kenny's House of Horsepower. Boom. I guess that leaves Novus up next. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll bring the computer up to you guys. I don't know. I don't know if anyone wants to see that list, but there's the list. All right. Novus headset. Boom. Dun, dun, dun. I don't know if both cameras are picking that up, but reach around here. Numero uno. Let's see who that is. Number 1. Number 1. Fuck yeah. Yo, dude, Willie Jack. You're going to be rolling in fucking style. You got a headset for you and Leanne. You going to Mexico soon. You're going to have music and you can talk. Pretty freaking awesome. That is awesome. Definitely going to a good home. I know he's going to use the hell out of that. I don't think he has any headset in his helmet now. I don't think so. He's going to love that. What else are we giving away next? What are we doing? Kenny's House of Horsepower shirt, a wallet. Let's do the wallet, and then we'll move on to shirts and all that shit. This is an awesome leather wallet that I got for myself, and I said fuck it, I'm gonna order 2 and throw it in the giveaway, dude. It is a rad little wallet. So here you go. Who's gonna win it? Number 13. Tim Alexander. And I forgot, this is so bad. I think that's who won the Mama Tried tickets. So that's cool. If it is, I'll give you the wallet directly in Milwaukee. I'm pretty sure, I'm such an idiot, I never saved the dude's number. So I just go back in the text messages every time I've been calling him. But anyways, either way, Tim Alexander, you got a wallet, dude. Let's see who's up next. Number 16. 16, what do you want? What do you want? I don't know who you are yet. But let's do Kenny's House of Horsepower shirt. And with all of these, I didn't tell everyone, but I have an insane sticker collection. So with everyone's stuff that gets sent out, I'm just gonna throw in a bunch of crazy stickers from over the years. Everything from like those crazy biker like helmet expression stickers or whatever. What the fuck, dude? I'm getting a FaceTime call right now. I don't know if it's gonna fuck up the Instagram live, but we're still on YouTube. But anyways, yeah, everyone's gonna get like a bunch of stickers and Crazy Gentleman stickers and yeah, and just some stickers from my collection over the years. Anyways, number 16. Let's see who you are. You're getting a Kenny's House of Horsepower shirt. Number 16, Scott B. I have no idea who Scott B is, but I will reach out to you on the Patreon and figure your info out. Get your shirt. Put your chip with the shirt. Let's do the Lexan shirt next. Pause due to poor connect. Dude, this fucking phone call's killing me. All right, cool. Anyways, Lexan shirt. I think all these shirts are size large and XL. I forgot to check the Kenny's one. I think it's a large. Anyways, for a Lexan shirt, here we go. Scramble them up a little. Boom, number 18. That would be the newest Patreon member. Congratulations, dude. You've already won something. I think number 16 was also, like, I think like 4 people signed up yesterday. So everyone's brand new here. 16 and 18, man. You guys are lucky. You're already winning stuff. Oh, shit. Yo, that's Kevin Kelvisart. You got yourself a Lexan shirt, dude. I will personally give you this in Milwaukee in a couple weeks. And I think that works out. This is an XL. I'm assuming you're an XL. But pretty cool, dude. I'm excited to give people things in real life instead of just mail. So that's cool. And I hope Tim Alexander is the guy who won the Mama Tried tickets. Because it'd be cool to give him that in real life too. Put your shirt with your chip. And this one will be Evan Simbita custom underscore knives on Instagram. SimbitaCustomKnives.com. Longtime sponsor of the podcast. And I just actually, breaking news. I just got a set of scales in the mail today. That'll be for my next Evan Simbita custom knives. So that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to another new knife. And here you go. Hopefully it is another pretty good sized person because this is a size XL. I also in a lot of these packages, I got a bunch of Simbita stickers. And I'm going to throw in randomly some Simbita custom koozies in packages also. So anyways, let's see who's winning this Simbita. Number 10. Who is number 10? Number 10. Fuck. God damn it. What is going on? I don't know what the hell went on there. Anyways, I'm so bad with all this, dude. Todd Alton. Hell yeah, dude. That's a New York dude. I will personally, and I'm pretty sure he's an XL. Pretty good sized kid. Hell yeah, congratulations, Todd Alton. Simbita custom shirt coming your way, dude. Let's drink a few beers. I'm back on the train. Back on the wagon, whatever they call it. I'll call it a train. That's where I go. So yeah, Todd, let's fucking meet up, dude. You got yourself a shirt. Koozies, I'm gonna just randomly throw in packages. And then everyone who did not win, first off, I want to say I'm gonna scan these cameras around and show you the second bike that's getting thrown in this bike giveaway with the purchase of these 2 stickers. The purchase of these 2 stickers gets you entered to win 2 of my motorcycles. So everyone's gonna get these stickers with the bike purchase. I don't think I have enough Chicken Rick stickers, so everyone just can't get those. And that was kind of the deal. Raffle only. And then whatever I have extra, I'll send some shit out. But I gotta wait till the raffle's over. Every single Patreon member for this 100th episode is gonna get a Crazy Gentleman t-shirt. So whoever did not win, no, you know what, screw it. Whoever won also, I'm giving everyone a shirt. I was only gonna do the non-winners, but whatever, dude, I'm on one. Everyone's gonna get a Crazy Gentleman shirt. I'll reach out to everybody individually and get their sizes and address and all that. And everyone's getting these. So congratulations. I guess that means I'm like one of these people that give out participation trophies now. Does that make me a participation trophy person? Boy, I hope not. Anyways, yeah, so everyone's gonna get a Crazy Gentleman stickers, t-shirt, and random stickers from my crazy ass sticker collection. I got a wild sticker collection. So I'll just throw in like a handful in everyone's packages. And damn, dude, I look forward to meeting the people I don't know. Just reach out anytime. Thank you so much for everyone coming on. And I'll whatever. I'll get these things shipped out tomorrow. And yeah, let's get on to the show. I don't even know how long we're into this for. This is one of those forever intros. No, before the show, yeah, I'm excited for this. Before the show, everyone knows Patreon members get 2-for-1 raffle tickets. So, let me adjust this camera here. Being that apparently people aren't crazy about this yellow bike, I decided to throw in another bike that I was just going to sell anyway in the springtime. But I'm going to let the winner of this raffle pick which bike they want. And I'm going to throw in another $500. So the winner, first place, will get to choose one of these bikes. And second place will get $1,000. Third place will get $500. And fourth place will get $500. And I'm also still donating $1,000. Ah, shit, I lost connection here. Okay, wait till I get back for the live people. I'm also donating $1,000 to Jess and John Luke's motorcycle recovery. For anyone who doesn't know, Jess was in a horrible motorcycle accident, probably like 8 months ago now. She was in a coma for a while. She just started driving like a week ago. She was basically bedridden for months. She was in a coma for like, I don't even know how long, 2 to 4 weeks. I forgot. But she's just barely like, they're barely getting things normal again, man. She's lucky to be alive. And yeah, so $1,000 is going to them too from this whole raffle. Anyways, also for everyone listening on YouTube and Instagram Live, let's fix these cameras a little. And let's pan around. Oh my God, this fucking... For anyone on YouTube, you could see the enormous setup I have this phone on for Instagram Live. I'm just trying to maneuver that around. Let's... So these are the two bikes. I'm gonna... Obviously, we're doing the yellow FXR4. Everyone sees that. Let's try and pan it this way. Yeah, there we go. For the Instagram Live people. We're not really doing awesome. You guys know about the FXR. But, wow, sorry, YouTube. There's the FXR. Everyone knows. Instagram can't really see it because everyone's seen it. But I'm also throwing in my 2020 Lowrider S. Here you go. It's been awesome. I've been all over North America on it. Done Mexico, from here to California, Colorado. You name it, man. It's been on a zillion road trips in the couple years I owned it. I bought it brand new. Never even thought I couldn't in my wildest dreams think I'd ever have a new bike. But bought this bad boy during the pandemic. And immediately hit the road and I strapped my bow and arrow on the back of this thing. It was the first road trip when it was like 2 weeks old. And went gator and hog hunting in Florida. That's how I got that gator that everyone sees in the videos. I actually killed that in Florida, for anyone who don't know that. And it was on the back of this bike, amongst many, many, many other adventures. But yeah, dude, so winner's gonna get to pick this twin cam FXR4 or this 2020 Lowrider S, dude. I don't know what raffle on the internet's that cool. This thing is done up. It's filthy now. I'm going to actually wash it sometime between now and Sunday. We're getting some good weather. I'm actively riding these bikes still. Cell phone mounts are still on them. As you can see, they're on the tenders. You know, every bike in here is on the battery tenders. I call it their umbilical cords. But yeah, I'm actively riding all these bikes still. So whatever miles is on it is, I think it's like around 30,000 now. But yeah, dude. Boosted Brad risers, green Vans grips, killer fucking Horsepower Industries HPI pipe. I waited a long time for that thing. K&N 90-degree elbow. Anyone who tunes knows that will be your best horsepower. It is also tuned. It's just ready to go, man. It's got good rubber on it, brakes, the whole nine. Like I said, this was my personal bike from day one, man. Shout out to eBay Jake. He hooked it up during the pandemic. I flew down to North Carolina and rode this thing home. And it's going to be missed, man. It's going to be missed. But on to bigger and better things. That 94 FXR, I'm going to pick up my fucking fully polished twin cam for that. Whoa, breaking news. I'm going to be building a radical little twin cam out of that 94. I've been collecting parts and all that stuff to do that for a while. It was going to be a wild Evo bike. Or I shouldn't say wild, but like it's going to be my next everyday ride. It kind of took a turn. I'm going to kind of cut it up a little. I'm going to do a whole YouTube documentation on that too. That was going to be the FXR4 replica bike, but I can't help myself. I'm going to make a cool little chopper. Anyways, this lowrider is also going to come with this detachable sissy bar here. It is not going to come with the bare knuckle bags. I'm taking those brackets off. I'm putting the detachable sissy bar back on. And it'll get that trunk also. This is hold on, let me get this. Let me get this over here because I realized I am screwing the Instagram Live people. Yeah, it's gonna get this trunk that I used to have on it. Pretty cool setup. It's also just a standard Harley luggage rack in the back that it's bolted to. So if you really just don't like the trunk, you could just take that off. And then you got a sissy bar. This rack also detaches from the sissy bar if you just want a sissy bar. but it is detachable also, quick detach. This is a cool little box though, just a quickie for everyone on YouTube. All stainless steel anchors all around this thing, so you could strap your camp to the top of it. I also installed a lock, so you can lock this thing. And that's about it, man. Pretty cool. Got a pad for your girl. And yeah, just a cool little around town blaster. This thing is pretty handy. So you'll get that. You ain't getting the bare knuckle bags because that's going on another bike. So yeah, I would never give those up. Anyways, let's get on to this episode. Today's episode is brought to you by... Oh, shit! Oh my God, wow, I am a total moron. Bare knuckle is... Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Paul, I'm very sorry. Paul, bare knuckle Paul, not today's guest. Dude, I'm such an idiot. Bare knuckle is donating $100 for the 100th episode. God, how did I forget that one? Hold on. Back to the chips. Back to the drawing board. God, I'm an idiot. Oh, man. How could I mean, this is why I'm your mechanic and your podcaster, not your attorney. So, anyways, let's get this thing set back up here. I don't even know how I set this up, dude. I don't know how I set it up, but here, you got the angle. These things are still in there. I'm going to shake them up. Nothing changed. Bare knuckle, $100 giveaway. Dude, I'm so sorry. This is so bad. Let's see who's getting it. $100. Spend it how you want at bare knuckle. Number three. Who are you? Number three. Oh, sick, dude. Dylan Porter. Hell yeah, dude. I'm so happy. I am so happy this went to. I'm so happy this kid won something. He has been a supporter from the fucking beginning. And he's just cool, man. We talk all the time, and hell yeah, Dylan, I'll be calling you. I'll give you a phone call tomorrow. You got $100 at bare knuckle. The reason there's nothing here for bare knuckle, when I spoke to Sam, it was he just said whenever you do the drawing or whatever, just oh Jesus Christ, sorry, I'm floating around with YouTube here. He said whenever I do the drawing, just contact them, put the winner in contact with them, and you'll get your $100 to spend however you want at bareknuckleperformance.com. So yeah, thanks to Evan Simbita Custom Knives, thanks to Bare Knuckle Paul, thanks to Lexin, and huge thank you to Kenny's House of Horsepower. And man, I just want to say thank you again to everyone who supports this show, and and congratulations to the winners. Damn, this is a run-on. Just gonna put that there. So let me put this thing down. I'm getting sick of holding the GoPro. So let's get to today's show. I'm very excited to announce today's guest is Paul Cox from Paul Cox Industries. I've looked up to this guy for as long as I could remember, before I even built my first bike, man. I've been watching this guy on TV, and I bump into him every now and again, like around New York and all, but we never really got a long-winded chance to talk like this podcast. And I couldn't have asked for anything better, man. Paul, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everything, man. Your craftsmanship over the years. I don't think he realizes, me and Chicken Rick had said something after we stopped rolling, but man, just how many people over the years and young kids like me when I was a young kid, this guy has influenced, man. He's influenced like a whole generation and a large part of an industry. But yeah, I don't know what more to say, dude. The guy speaks for himself. He's world famous, and he's just, I've said it on many podcasts, I think one of the greatest craftsmen of our time. I mean, I don't know anyone who does as many. I don't know anyone who has as many talents as him on the highest level. Like, he does everything to the highest level. It's amazing. And it's even more incredible. I got to thank him again for giving us the tour of the shop and like seeing where and how he does it all. It's incredible. But anyways, you guys will hear all about that in this episode. And also, thank you so much to my favorite sidekick, my favorite wingman, one of my best buds in the world, who fully participated on this episode with us. I love calling Rick when I have an exciting guest, and he is just so pumped to come along and take pictures and ask all of his questions. And if I could, man, I'd have Rick on for every episode. Like, he is awesome. Thank you so much, Rick. And I don't know, me and Rick have been talking too. I'm spilling a lot of beans here on the 100th episode. But I want to have Rick do a couple episodes here and there whenever he's feeling up for it and the guest is right and all in his travels, and just hand the show over to him for episodes here and there. I got a lot of love for Rick, man, and I'm very thankful he's a good friend of mine. So thank you for everything you do, Rick. And I guess if we're spilling the beans here in advance, thanks, Rick, for bringing your bike to Flat Out Friday for me and letting me rip that little guy around. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you. So many thank yous in this world. On to the show. I really do think this is my favorite show I've ever done. So, hope you guys enjoy it. I present to you Mr. Paul Cox. See ya next week.
Always been, the same thing, but having less space and having to kind of like specialize each area,
yeah,
I've been so much more productive here,
yeah,
in half the space, because we've got like 1,200 compared to 2,500.
Yeah, and I don't know how much cross traffic you had in New York, but here it kind of seems a little bit more isolated. You could kind of just be by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. I guess that, like you said, this is the most productive space you've ever had. Is it?
Sorry, dude.
No, it's all right. Do you find it that reason because there's less noise than the city? Like Rick was saying, just less like people walking through and people stopping by and just pretending like it's a hangout, not a workshop.
Yeah. Definitely. That's part of it. And am I sitting down right now?
Yeah, that's fine. We can sit, we can stand, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm cool.
Yeah, that's part of it. And I mean, but even in Brooklyn, it got to the point where, when I had the shop there.
Cool. Where there's too much traffic coming through.
Yeah, I mean, because initially years ago, the hangout part of it was kind of fun. People dug that. And going all the way back to like Rivington Street on the Lower East Side in the early 90s, and it was definitely, a lot of hanging out. But that's the thing that always drove me crazy. And I had a private, like I had a spot upstairs on Rivington Street, bench space with my box where I would do the fabrication stuff, with Larry and Steg and Frank and everybody up there. But also had a separate space in the basement.
Right.
Where I did the leather work. So I was kind of, between both. So I liked going down in the basement and getting left alone.
Yeah.
From all like the hanging out so much.
Yeah.
And just going back to that real quick, there was also a spot down there where our old friend Fritz, I don't know if you know Fritz.
Fritz by Fritz?
Fritz by Fritz,
yeah.
Because he was painting at his place on Long Island, and Larry loved his paint work, and we set him up with a spot in the basement as well, and built out a whole spray booth, and he had his prep area and everything downstairs.
Oh wow!
At Psycho, where he painted, any of the stuff that we were doing then, along with two of Larry's bikes, including Voodoo Chili that I've still got the chassis of, but
oh wow!
I'm gonna rebuild that.
Cool.
So that's a whole other story.
Damn. Yeah, was Rivington the first shop you had in New York when you got here? Like let's backtrack a second. You're not from New York, right? For people that don't know.
Right.
Yeah,
and that
what
was
the journey like to get to New York? What brought you up here?
And Psycho wasn't my shop. I mean, that belonged to Stud.
You were just an employee for that at the time?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were just together, you know, hanging out, making stuff, and just building cool shit. But I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, and you know, loved bikes and motorcycles and dirt bikes and go-karts and making just anything that I could when I was little, mostly at my grandmother's house. And then grew up there, went to VCU, went to art school in illustration and painting, and came to the city in '89, and you know, to get work in illustration and commercial art. So I was fortunate to get a job at a store down in Soho doing fashion illustration. You know, was in print every day in the newspaper, magazines and stuff, and it all kind of fell into place. And I was also doing, you know, the fine art thing, like paintings and sculpture and stuff, and you know, gallery type things.
Selling that work? Like that's how you were also supplementing a living?
Yeah, well, I had, you know, the full-time job doing the illustration gig, which was great. I mean, you know, I was so fortunate to get that right away.
Right.
And when I came to the city, I was also really lucky because I moved in with an old high school buddy of mine, Eric, that I'd grown up with.
Okay.
That was a musician, and he had already come up here ahead of me. So, you know, we had this apartment on 13th Street in the East Village.
How old were you at
Which
the time?
was great. I mean, I was right out of college, so I guess I was like 20. Well, it took me an extra couple of years to get out, so I guess I was 24.
Okay.
I don't know, something like that. Whatever the math is.
What a time, dude, to be 24 in the city at that time.
We had a blast.
Just fucking,
yeah,
that was awesome.
We had such a good time. And he was a musician, so, you know, it was just a lot about going to shows and music and art, and then, you know, after a couple of years of doing the commercial work, I just really wanted to get back to more of my fine art thing. I left that, and a few other, you know, jobs in between in the transition, but I was picked up with initially the guys over at 6th Street Specials, if you're familiar with them.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but I know.
Lower East Side, yeah. Yeah, at the time it was Hugh and Deemy that owned that shop, and Hugh's still there. Deemy passed away in '94, but you know, that was like the bike sort of hub of the East Village was 6th Street Specials, and you know, picked up with those guys, was hanging around over there, really into the bike stuff already, but sort of got back into it after a couple of years in the city, and you know,
what were you riding in Virginia before you left?
That goes. I mean, it goes back to riding dirt bikes and stuff as a kid, because I hadn't ridden in a good while, like through college, and then sort of picked back up on it when I got up here with a few Triumphs.
Okay.
And you know, in those circles with 6th Street Specials, it was all about Triumphs, a little bit of Harley stuff, but it was all about Triumphs and BSAs. And then I met Larry at 6th Street Specials. Hugh introduced me to Larry, and we started hanging out, and he was doing some work with Stag at the first Psycho Cycles, which was on Avenue C in the East Village. A little tiny storefront. You know, you could barely, you'd have to pull the bikes out just to get in the front door each morning. It was so tiny, like the size of a bathroom. And that's, you know, that's really sort of the beginning of picking up with all those guys.
Right.
And, you know, phasing from sort of the British stuff into the Harley stuff. And that was still only like 92.
Wow.
You know, because that first couple of years all compressed. You know, a lot of changes in a couple of years.
Were you the young kid in that whole group? You would have been the kid, right? Because I mean, Larry was a few years older. Right?
Yeah. It's funny because by this time, you know, he seemed so old at the time, but You know, now that would have been me like years ago.
Right,
Yeah, because he was like 40 something, you know.
right.
So.
Was his name even Indian Larry yet? Like, I don't even know when he got that name.
Yeah, he had, initially he was Sportster Larry.
Oh, no shit.
Because he had built a hot rod Sportster years earlier, and then he became known for the Indian Chief that he had built that ended up in Iron Horse magazine. And,
right. That famous picture on the corner.
And then everybody started calling him Indian Larry. You know, so then that stuck. Cool. And then, you know, it kind of worked out that his profile, he kind of looked like an Indian anyway. You know, so.
Right. He definitely had to look for that name.
I feel like that all the greats always start with Sportsters. True and Osborne.
Sportsters or Triumphs, one of the two.
Yeah. Right. When you were working for the commercial art thing, was that like, were you going to work every day wearing a collar? Or was it like,
no,
this is the art department?
No, it was fashion illustration, you know, for a couple of stores in Soho that, you know, it was all fashion stuff, and the art department was just, you know, be who you are.
Yeah.
And that was never a thing.
Uh-huh.
But, you know, it just got to be really, really restrictive and just, you know, for any number of reasons, just got...
the corporate machine
moved on, you know, from that association,
right.
from that situation. But you know, picking up with like Steg and Larry, it was initially, you know, through like the leather work and some custom stuff that I'd done for myself that, you know, Larry started kind of noticing, oh, you know, we ought to keep this guy around, you know, as far as shop wise, and you know, then offered me a spot at Rivington Street when Psycho Cycles pretty soon moved down to the Rivington Street location, offered me a spot in there to work, and then that was kind of the, you know, it all went from there. So that was, I guess, 30 years ago? Because that was probably 93.
Right.
Is that what that adds up to?
Well, 94 would have been 30, right? 90, it's 2024 now.
I'm 34, and I was born in '89.
There you go. Yeah. So.
Oh, you were born in '89.
That's
fucked up. Oh man.
So that was the big catalyst that kept you around with them. They're like, this is the young guy, you know, we're kind of feeling him out, but he could sure make the fuck out of some seats.
Right.
Well, it was exciting. I mean, there was such a, it's like, it's a bigger conversation about like, you know, media and access to information and all that kind of thing. When you like speed back 30 years, it wasn't the dark ages, but all you knew was what was immediately around you.
Yeah.
You know, your circle, even your part of town was pretty much your world, your bubble.
Yeah.
Because you didn't know what else was happening anywhere else.
Yeah.
So, you know, the British Bike Shop, I mean, they were amazing. That's really where I got my start. And Hugh, great friend to this day, is, you know, just the best.
Yeah.
But you know, it was something different. It was something that I saw much more of, you know, potential for customizing, and it was like flashy, and you know, the whole like Harley vibe, and especially, you know, what was happening in the early days of Psycho Cycles. It was just cool, you know. It was like but in a different way, and you know, I really kind of connected with that, and Larry and I connected immediately and just kind of clicked on a creative level, and you know, it was an exciting time, and like I said, you know, that was our world, and what we were doing and what we were creating at the time just seemed that much more special because it was ours. And if anybody sort of came to visit or check it out, they're like, oh wow, holy shit, we had no idea, you know, this was happening.
Yeah. Especially for the brand new bikes that were coming out at the time, you know, like the bikes that you guys were creating are so drastically different from the Harley Davidson that like a normal person would be used to seeing.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, like you're just coming out of like the Tour Glide era.
Right.
Which is like the absolute opposite.
You're talking like pre-internet also.
Sure.
You're talking like so like a lot of people seeing bikes back then, they may never have seen a fucking bike like that.
Well, I mean, that really initiated sort of this New York City style, which was, you know, I mean, Larry always really was specific about maneuverability and functionality, and you know, paring down all the parts that you don't need, and all which kind of all culminated into this look and profile, which is still a lot of kind of the way I build today. But it's not like where so many things today blend and styles just kind of wash into another because you instantly know what's happening in Japan,
Right.
as
Yeah.
well as you know what's happening down the block, you know. So, you know, the California thing, the East Coast, West Coast thing, or like the Northeast, any of those regional differences sort of started to blend away and homogenize over the years, where, you know, back then you had to kind of like travel to really see what else was happening, and you really got focused on what you wanted to create for your own purposes and functionality, and your own ideas weren't necessarily something that was stuck in the back of your head because you saw it, you know, flicking through your phone on the toilet and forgot that maybe you saw it, you know, and it just got regurgitated into something else. You know, it was genuinely originality.
Right.
And you know, if you got your bike in a magazine, I mean, that was life changing. You know, that was because that exposure didn't exist in any other format.
Right.
It was the only way. You know, so it just meant even that much more.
Right.
But yeah, it was an exciting time, and we really all clicked, and then moved into that other, when Steg moved the shop down to Rivington, it just kind of took off from there, and it was really about that sort of, you know, hardtail chopper, really pared down, tight rake, New York City style out of that spot. But when you talk about like the other bikes that were around at the time, there were the stock bikes, obviously, in contrast to what we were doing, but then there were the other custom shops that had their own style, that also, the differences were so much more pronounced because of visibility and the type of thing that, you know, that didn't exist back then. The shop, say, on the other side of downtown over in Soho, American Dream Machine, that did like what we would call at the time like the yuppie softail stuff, right? But it was like
It was huge
the
back then.
other side of the coin. I mean, not like we were enemies or anything, but it was just kind of that like rivalry.
Right.
And they were only a few blocks away, but it was like a different world.
Right.
A whole different world, whole different, you know, circle of clientele, and you know, it sounds cheesy now, but just to say like, you know, softail yuppies at their Easter egg paint jobs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I
Dude,
feel
you
like
would,
I
you would
have.
describe those early days in with a line that I just stuck in my head my whole life since I read it in the Indian Larry book. You would describe those days with the early days with Larry as all Slim Jims and six packs, or no, all six packs and Slim Jims back then. And,
Yeah, that's what we would do.
like
And if I ramble on, I edit out any of my rambling.
dude, I don't edit any of those.
We're
We're here for the ramble.
Yeah, we're here. That's what we're here for,
'cause
the ramble.
I'll wander.
Dude, can I stop you real quick though? Can we just
shit.
turn this down a little?
Oh, sorry.
I kind of like it on a little bit, but
Sorry.
just turn it down a bit. I think it's kind of cool, little background. But yeah, you would, yeah, I'll never forget that, because at the time I read it, I was like 22, 23, and I was just starting a motorcycle shop that time with my best friend, and it reminded me of the life I was living at that time. You describing your youth, just six packs and Slim Jims, you know?
Well, that's what we would do at Psycho. Is, you know, we would work the day, and then typically Larry and I would stay after hours, and we'd go around to the bodega around the corner,
Right.
and get 6-pack of Bud and Slim Jims,
Right.
and that would be like dinner and like into the evening. And it's funny because I always hated cans. I like bottles. He hated bottles and liked cans. And he'd always say, you know, you need your aluminum intake, you know. So he always, you know, was determined to have cans. But
That's fucking hilarious.
But yeah, then we would stay. Then he and I would always stay and do our personal project stuff.
Right.
And actually, that's where this table, because he built this table then.
Oh shit.
Yeah, this fab table. And I was telling you, I've still got the chassis for Voodoo Chili, which was one of his bikes that he built. That was a purple one that he built back then. So when I start kind of bringing that back to life, I want to do it on this table that was built on originally.
Wow.
Yeah,
How
that's
fucking
cool.
cool
So,
is that?
That'll be kind of cool. So that would have been still like, you know, 94, something like that.
Wow.
Because he built Voodoo Chili before Grease Monkey, which was then his last bike with the nickel plated frame.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my favorites. I know it was one of his earlier ones. But
Yeah, it was a great
what
bike.
an iconic bike.
That was a great bike.
Were all of Larry's like big bikes, like was Grease Monkey built on this table too?
Yeah,
Holy shit,
Yeah.
man, that's wild.
yeah, all of them.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
just fucking cool.
Yeah, they build off bikes, everything.
Damn. Do you have any other pieces in here with like big sentimental value, story? Like, I mean, that table's probably as good as it gets, but I mean, yeah, I feel like there's got to be so many stories in here. Is there a standout in
I
here
got lots of stuff.
besides this table? Obviously?
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff.
It's too much.
Yeah, it's I mean, there's this
Yeah.
thing. I mean, this thing's kind of cool. I don't know. I don't know if I was talking about this before.
What is it?
But it's just this like I might have shown a picture of this before. I don't know, but I mean it's completely just a random sort of machined assembly of brass and aluminum. And when we were at the shop on the Lower East Side for a while, the next location was up in Hell's Kitchen in Midtown, and Larry came in one morning, and you know he had things going on in his life. He had his demons that he was fighting, and you know he would get kind of, you know, in his head about stuff and had things to deal with on a personal level. And sometimes he would come in and just have to make art, just make a thing, just, you know, do something that he didn't have to think about it. He could just kind of, you know, let his mind just sort of wander and just get lost in a process for a while. And he came in that day and he was just dealing with some shit and made this. And he just grabbed some random material, and if you're not seeing it, you know, it's just these odd angles, crazy angles of like tapered, you know, brass and aluminum intersecting and plunged through. He set this piece in the middle and, you know, plunged a hole into that, and then pressed this into that, and then cross milled this into that, and machined that point on the lathe, and then just threw it to the side and just had to leave for the day. You know, he was just like kind of in a state of mind that he just needed to like busy himself with something, and it served its purpose, and then he just had to go.
And to him, he couldn't care if he ever saw it.
So it wasn't about this thing that I still have that he made and tossed aside. It was about the moment that he just had to take himself out of himself,
right,
for an hour, right, and kind of blasted this thing out. But so, you know, that means a lot to me.
That's awesome.
So
It's
that
crazy
kind of
how-
sits on
Did
my
Larry
desk.
ever knew that you took it that day?
He might have known that I still had it.
Yeah.
Probably did. I mean, you know, it was in my toolbox for years or whatever, but it just, you know, it sits on my desk.
That's really
But-
cool, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You know, you
how,
couldn't
like,
talk to him in that moment. He just needed to do it. He just needed to get out of his own head,
Yeah.
you know, and that's how he would do it, by machining and creating.
how profound that one piece is. You know, like how much of a
know.
statement about life and living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, how much of a story.
When I
is
seen
just
it
in
at
that?
first, I was just like, "That's really hard to make."
Right.
you probably had to.
I mean, this
fix
was
a lot
him
of
being
things to make that.
this was him being kind of mindless. You know,
Yeah.
it was like a release. Whereas maybe somebody else might, you know, look at it like, oh, the calculations and the mind-bending shit. I mean, this was him just sort of like freeing his mind
Sure.
for a moment,
Yeah.
and you know, something that he could know and do and kind of ground himself a little bit. So yeah.
It is really cool, man.
But yeah, I got lots of little odds and ends around that are meaningful, you know, from our time together
Yeah, yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I never met him, but a friend of mine towed a bike for him one time, and he said, you know, he was obviously in the passenger seat of his tow rig for like an hour, and he described him as the most intelligent person he ever spoke to. He's like, you were talking to someone else. Like, it was a very intelligent guy. That's
Yeah.
just something I'll never, like the description I'll never forget.
Yeah.
From someone at that time.
I mean, you know, honestly, and I don't care. I mean, I could sit and talk about Larry all night, but because he was just that unique of an individual, you know, because there was the character, right? The, you know, the charisma and that over-the-top personality, because, you know, that's what he loved. That's what he loved to put out there and project. Was, you know, I think after the hard life that he had lived and the intensity of his existence early on and throughout his years, he really latched on to that kind of lightheartedness, and he loved it. He loved like the carnival sideshow type vibe, you know, and lived it. I mean, he was a part of the Coney Island sideshow.
Yeah.
But you know, but mentally, but psychologically, he had so many levels to it, and he was super intelligent because he would just absorb anything around him, and information excited him, and he didn't deny an opportunity to learn ever. So it was interesting in a very literal sense that you could be in a group of people. You know, we could be at a bike event, at some bar someplace, or at like a gallery opening in Soho or in Chelsea, and he would feel just as at home talking to people. He could be talking to a brain surgeon. He could be talking to, you know, a teacher, a kindergarten teacher. He could be talking to him, and he would have something to connect with them about what they do and what they know. He would have some bit of information locked away that he could then connect. He wouldn't just, you know, talking to anybody. He wouldn't just kind of glaze over and not know, you know, what you were talking about.
Right.
And he would just store information like that. But then again, by the same token, he couldn't make a cup of coffee for himself. Couldn't figure it out.
That's fucking hilarious.
Couldn't figure it out. But he could do rocket surgery all day long.
Right.
Yeah. But it was funny. Yeah, it was that kind of like, you know, odd little sort of incongruous mix of personality where some of the, you know, most basic stuff, and even like emotionally too, you know, some of the most basic things that we, you know, most people take for granted, would stump him, you know, would like really be sort of a stumbling block.
Right.
Just basic life stuff.
Right.
But if you'd elevate it into this whole other sort of level of existence and operate up there, he was totally comfortable.
Right.
And you know, and he loved like philosophy, and he looked at the world in, you know, like a mystery. Like, you know, I mean, people have different opinions on the whole question. It started out as a question mark with the question cross, you know, when he wanted to add the iron cross to the bottom and make it a question cross. But he started out, it was just a regular question mark, you know, with the dot at the bottom, using that as an image with his name, because it wasn't as aggressive as a thing where, you know, people have different thoughts and opinions about question everything, and, you know, trust no one and all that kind of vibe, where it was literally him expressing the fact that he just doesn't know what's going on, on like a, you know, bigger, you know, level than us.
Was
like,
he religious? Was it like him surrendering to God?
Universal terms.
Right.
Religion, opposite of religious.
Okay.
You know, he would be like, what's the word? Not religious, but
spiritual.
Spiritual, yeah.
Okay.
Very spiritual. Organized religion, he hated. I mean, I think he was raised in Catholic school. Hated church.
Dude, I got a funny question. Was he into aliens? Please tell me yes.
I don't know if he was into aliens.
Okay.
But
it kind of sounded like that he was on like a lifelong quest of information. Like like if there's obviously a million things that we don't understand, and it seems like that he had the personality type to need to understand it.
Right.
Like to the point of where it could be problematic.
Right.
Well, I mean,
in terms of like maybe sidetracking him or derailing him.
Yeah. I mean, he wanted, so it was like admitting that we just don't have it figured out.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all it was. So that was kind of the root of the whole question mark thing.
Right.
It was like, I don't know.
Right.
Why God put me here?
Right.
I got no idea.
I wish more people would take that attitude toward life, honestly.
Yeah, so it was really just
Really
kind of a way of saying, I mean, ask him, does he know about bike stuff? And he'll go, you're damn right I do.
Right.
But does he know about, like, what does life mean? No fucking idea.
Right.
And that's what he was just admitting, is just the reality of the fact that, we don't know what this is all about. It's bigger than us.
Yeah.
On like a universal level is what I was trying to say. And definitely on a spiritual level. And it would manifest itself in different ways. Like we were doing it was the last build off we were doing in Sturgis, and he was supposed to go on a photo shoot with Michael Lichter, and we were just going to go together, and I was just kind of got to ride along, but he was meeting Lichter to shoot one morning. We were going to meet at Full Throttle or something, ride out towards Bear Butte or whatever it was, and he wasn't showing up, and I was there, and Michael was there, and it was really weird because at that point, towards the end, I mean, he was all about like scheduling and doing the right thing and like being on top of his commitments, and
he was totally clean.
Really on the ball,
too, right?
yeah.
So
and
it was like
clean at that point for a few years,
right?
And so it was really strange. It was unusual. And then Michael just said, "Well, let's just go ahead and, we'll just shoot some stuff together, and I guess we'll just catch up with Larry later." And so when I saw Larry later over where we were set up, and I was like, "Man, that was weird. Are you okay? What happened?" And he goes, "Yeah, he just got up that morning, and he was."
Oh, hey guys. I'm here to interrupt the show. I wanted to interrupt the show and let you know this is also brought to you by the bumpshopbackroom.com, the Bump Shop Diaries on Instagram. Go hit up my boy Rodney for all the coolest vintage merch and unfindable stuff anywhere. He's also the only place that you could get Crazy Gentleman merchandise from. And we're also giving some stuff away. We're giving some of his Hardtail Blend coffee away. And whatever merch pack thing idea he's got going on the website. And we're giving away a Crazy Gentleman hoodie. Whoever wins this hoodie is going to be the first owner of one. I have not even gotten one yet. So, here we go. Back to the Panhead valve covers. Shake it up. I don't know if you guys could hear this on the podcast, shaking it up or not, but YouTube could see it. I'm reaching behind my back here, shaking these things up. And here we go. Number 12. Number 12. Since I am in a time crunch here, I got the computer inside already because I'm uploading parts of this episode as we speak. Because I got to run tonight. What was it? Number 12. Woo! Number 12. Perfect. Number 12, dude, is Chunks. Chunks, number 12, dude. Yo, congratulations, Corey. He's another long time listener, dude. He's listened to them all since the beginning. He's a long haul truck driver out of Indiana, dude. So that's awesome. That is awesome. I know he's a fan of Rodney's too. The perfect perfect winner for that prize, man. That is so cool. Anyways, man, back to the regularly scheduled program. Mr. Paul Cox. See you guys. Enjoy the rest of this episode.
Cool.
Yeah, so he was all in his head that morning.
Yeah, so he was just really in his head that morning about everything that was going on, because he loved the level that he had gotten to, but it was a lot. It was intense. You know what I mean? And he had ridden. I forgot exactly where he said that he went, but he rode up to the highest mountain that he could find, got off the bike, and just put his hands up and yelled at the sky like, "Why, God?" Why me? And it's just something he needed to go do.
Yeah.
For whatever that meant to him,
right,
emotionally at the time. He just had to go do that. And whether he got an answer that day or not, I don't know.
One of my favorite pictures of you and him, both individual pictures though, was possibly this day. My favorite picture is when you're on the Berserker and you're looking back, and I'm pretty sure Lichter took the picture, and it was at Bear Butte. Was it that day?
That's when he was on a mountain yelling at God.
Right. Oh, he was actually there at that time, and you guys were doing those pictures.
That's why he wasn't with us.
No shit. But then I believe later that day there were some more pictures of you guys together, no?
Probably.
Or not? Yeah, probably.
Maybe right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That picture was one of the things I wanted to ask you about. Like, what was that day like? And
it was accidental. Yeah. No, I was just going to be riding along. I mean, Michael was shooting Larry that day.
Okay.
And and he was ready to go, and we were just having fun. Let's go for a ride anyway.
Right.
And he got those couple of shots. Just hanging down. We were just out riding, and I looked back at Michael, and he had his camera, hanging it down off the side of his bike, because he was riding by himself as well.
Okay.
Just had his camera in his hand, and grabbed some shots when we were riding.
Cool.
So,
all of that stuff that you had described about Larry, like his endless curiosity for life, is that one of the things that keeps your fire going so good in your older age? Like the more you, it's hard to keep this fire alive like you have for fucking, like, what have you been doing this for, like 40 years now? 30 years?
35 years.
Yeah, like, is that one of the things, do you have that, like, burning curiosity similar to Larry in you?
100%.
Okay.
100%. In a different way, I'd just say yeah, but in a different way, because I still, if I'm in here doing a 14, 16-hour day, I still am excited the next morning about getting back in here. It's, the all-nighters hurt a little bit more than they used to.
Yeah.
For sure, because, I really got in the habit of falling back on a lot of those. But yeah, the excitement, the curiosity, all of this stuff, like all the different phases of things that I do in the shop, like we were talking about, whether it's paint or engraving or motor building or, even just the most basic welding, every time I'm doing it, I'm learning something new.
Right.
And, people are different, they have different personalities, but, you'll see people that maybe will do something a few years and they'll feel like, yeah, I'm awesome at that, or, that's my thing, or whatever. I'll never feel that way about any of this.
Right.
Because each day, each time, I hope I do it a little bit better than last time. I hope who I'm doing it for digs it. I hope I dig it. And it's always an unknown. So it keeps it exciting.
Right.
I never have that feeling walking in here like been there, done that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
It's always exciting.
Do you feel like you're on top of your game right now? Best you've ever been? Or do you feel like there was a heyday at one time?
That's tomorrow.
Where you were on your game? Yeah.
No, I feel like it continues to grow. The excitement that I was just kind of describing is feeling each time I'll be like, oh man, I never realized I could do it that way, or, that works a little bit better.
Yeah.
Or that, different type of rod or a different angle in the engraver, or, some new trick about closing off a port in early, knucklehead motor cases that, that helps in the in a modern build, you know, any little thing that you learn, there's still so much to pick up and to, you know, tweak and to refine. You know, I hope to not think that I peaked years ago and it's all downhill from here. If that's what you're saying.
No, I'm not
I think
accusing
that's literally
you.
what you said.
No, I'm not. I'm asking you
No,
how
it's
you
exciting.
feel about it. I don't think you have. I think your best days are ahead of you. You
Yeah,
know,
I hope so,
I was
because
curious how you felt about it.
you know, I mean, there's that sort of that, you know, quintessential search for perfection and that kind of thing that I don't think you know, we'll die before we achieve that.
Right.
I hope, because then you're done. You know, then that's pretty much once you plateau.
Right.
It's like, what's the point? You know, I mean, I try to keep my hands in so many different things, so many different aspects of what become motorcycles, but also what lead into other things that I do, other peripheral stuff creatively, that really keeps it exciting and keeps it a constant search, you know,
Right.
and a constant journey, because the fun is in the journey. I mean, it's done like the bike, the red one we were looking at out there. I love checking it out now that it's finished, but I'm not thinking about it anymore.
Right.
You know, I mean, I really, walking by it, it's really, you know, satisfying to look at it, but the excitement was in the whole, you know, journey up to that point. And you know, that's where you have the opportunity to learn a little bit something different every single time.
Would you consider yourself a builder that likes building more or riding more?
Oh, I still love both, because I definitely talk to builders and no builders that either, you know, ride a little or don't ride anymore, or just
Right.
kind of phased out of it, but they still have the job.
Right,
It's
right.
just a job. I love building what I'm building, thinking, man, this is going to be fun to fucking ride.
Right.
And how cool it's going to look, you know, sitting outside, or how it's going to feel because of this little tweak with the front end, or you know, whatever, because I always want them to also feel as perfect as they can, and a little bit better each time, you know, with the geometry, with the seating position, with the front ends, with the, you know, tire size, bar height, whatever it is, just the contours of the seat. So I'm not kind of working off a grocery list, filling an order and sending it out the door, and you go have fun with it.
Right.
Because everything that I build for somebody, I look at it like, I'm gonna have fun with it first.
Right.
So I want it to feel great, because I love riding, you know. And, you know, I've been fortunate to do a couple of things these past few years with a couple of factories like Indian and BMW. And man, I like the newer bikes too, you
Right.
know, because I never really
Yeah.
spent much time on them. But
Are you looking at those through a whole new lens? Like,
it's a cool contrast.
can't wait to carve that thing up, you know, like, is it, you know, because the shape of, you know, like a standard straight leg frame or a wishbone frame, like, it's kind of, you don't really get too crazy far away from that. Are you looking, I mean, just in general for Harleys and monkeying around with them,
Mhm.
but like, are you looking at the new bikes like, this is a whole new thing that I can't wait to dive
Right.
into, you know,
Like
we're-
part of your
we're
creative
gonna
journey.
dish this tank this way, you know. Like, are you looking at their brand new, you know, what is it, R21,
R19?
18?
I don't know. I don't know all the models.
What, the R18? What,
Yeah.
you mean the BMW?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because that's the, I'm actually on the third one of those that I'm
Mhm.
working on, customizing. And what I really kind of dig, though, as opposed to taking something like that that's brand new
Mm-hmm.
and has all the bells and whistles, and then just saying, oh, you know, I'm a bare bones chopper guy, so all this is going to go in the trash, and fuck it, you know, I'm just going to make it like whatever it is that I do.
Sure.
But in contrast to that, I kind of really like the challenge of you know, embracing some of what's beautiful and amazing about the engineering of some of these new bikes, and then trying to make it cooler, more hidden, you know, more streamlined, more unique, more, you know, my style, but not just, shit can it all and make it just
Right.
just another rigid chopper.
Still retaining all its functionality.
Yeah, because I think that's kind of the fun of it, to retain as much functionality. Yeah, sure.
Right.
So I find it challenging and really exciting to kind of work with the new stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I got my first new bike. I never thought I'd have ever a new bike, but in 2020. And the way I describe it is, it's fucking just hard to hate those new bikes, man. It really is. Like, a lot of guys like to hate on. They're hard to hate, man. Like,
Yeah.
the
I don't mind.
technology
I
is
don't
pretty
mind it
crazy.
at all, man.
You know.
Especially riding around here. I mean, switching out from a rigid to the Indian Chief or the BMW, the R18. They're three completely different rides.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they all feel different. They all do different jobs, and that's what I appreciate about them. And it kind of goes back to, years ago, like if you're talking to Larry about motorcycles and about brands and like shitting on Sportsters or fuck that, it's a Jap bike or whatever. I mean, the beautiful thing is that they're motorcycles and they're fun, whether it's a dirt bike or a Sportster or a Yamaha or whatever.
Right.
Then you can decide what you want to have sitting in your garage. But there's just no reason to shit on them because they're all for different purposes. They're all fun, and it's just about motorcycles.
Right.
It's like the Sportster thing. I mean, those were race bikes.
Right.
Right.
Back in the
They're not just girls' bikes. I mean,
Right.
it's like a stereotypical old bullshit comment
Sure.
from years ago, but it's kind of like a good example. I mean, those were hot rods.
Right.
So different bikes serve a different purpose, and just like new stuff compared to old stuff.
Right.
And it could all be.
I like
all
how
be
you
fun and
describe that. You
interesting.
could decide what's in your garage, which we all do. But yeah, like I say, man, I've never twisted a throttle on a motorcycle that I hated. It's like
Right.
it's always fun when you go
Right.
like that.
Oh, sure.
But just choose what's in your
unless somebody
garage.
did a shitty job building it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a complete
Right.
death trap.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, it's like when you talk about building and we were talking about like the journey and kind of tweaking things and say something, for example, like setting up a foot clutch,
Mhm.
right? When you talk about like somebody building a shitty bike,
Right.
every single time it's like just trying to get that subtle little, that transition just right, a little bit more in each bike that I build, where, it feels good, you get used to it, that's great, okay, this is a fun one. But then the next time thinking, if I just like raise the pedal a little bit or just, move that pivot point a little lower so it's got a bit more travel or whatever, so that it's just a tiny bit better than the last one.
Yeah.
And that's just, say, one example.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really easy to set them up crappy,
Yeah.
and then it makes the whole experience suck.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then something like, a jockey shift or a foot clutch or whatever gets a bad rap, and over the years it's always like, oh, no, that's horrible, you'll kill yourself.
Right.
Well, it wasn't set up right.
Right. Do you run a lot of N1 shift drums in your foot clutches?
I do, and it's kind of cool thinking back on that because I could figure out the year probably if I thought about it. But when they first came out with that setup, they were experimenting with it and hadn't really offered it yet. And they sent us one to experiment with, and they hadn't even like put them in production. I mean, they probably had like a handful of them, and they sent us one to try out. I think it was after Larry had died. I think we were just soon after that as Legacy, right?
Okay.
The Legacy show, and thought it was the coolest thing. It's like, why didn't somebody do this years ago?
Yeah.
Bert and those guys came up with that, and so yeah, we got to try out. I don't know what bike it went into. Might have been Brooklyn Beatnik or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, we tried out one of the first prototypes of those N1 shift drums, and I still use them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like the coolest fucking thing ever.
Yeah. I mean, it is, and again, it's like everything else. you got to remember that that's what you're riding at the time.
Right.
And sometimes you'll still default back into thinking, all the way down, and you're in first, and you go to pull away around a corner, and you're like, oh fuck, I'm in neutral.
Right.
But yeah, super cool idea, and they've started putting out a few of these 4-speeds again, limited run of 4-speeds.
True 4-speeds, not 6-in-4s.
No, yeah, the 4-speeds.
Okay.
Yeah, they did them for a while,
Oh.
phased out of it, and then they've been producing a limited run of them. So I've got a few of them here for builds.
Cool.
So I jumped on a couple of those while they were making those, because they're great. It's made by Baker. It's bulletproof, and you're not even gonna have to think twice about it. But in the customs, in the choppers, I like 4-speeds. They're the 6-into-4s that they do are awesome, especially if you're doing a lot of like highway miles and you really want to keep that first gear low and then have an actual overdrive. But it's a longer unit by a little, like,
it looks
I think
a little
about
silly.
about
It sticks out.
inch. So it's just physically a bigger unit. So when they started making the 4-speeds, it's like that was like a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
And the 4-speed is just such a tight package and a nice, little chopper.
Yeah.
That and then with their tweaks and finesse that they do, it's just kind of the ultimate transmission that I like to use.
Yeah.
Yeah, who wouldn't want a brand new transmission to just dump it and not have to worry about it?
I know the guys that have the money for them, it's just like it's a no-brainer. It's really a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Especially with the price of trying to score ratchet top 4-speeds at swap meets now. Like, they're kind of out of control. All these old parts are out of control now, I think,
Yeah, 1,500 to $2,000 for
dude.
ratchet top.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's like I got I'm piecing a panhead together now. I got a ratchet top, a complete ratchet top, for $750, and I thought it's the best score I've seen in fucking years. Like, you can't really touch them for under $1,000 anymore.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know. I'm kind of cheap when it comes to buying used parts too. 'Cause I always think when prices were down low, man. I'm like, why can't they be that cheap anymore?
I know. I gotta dig through and see what I got and pull it out and organize everything.
Yeah.
You get those like boxes of carburetors and like boxes of rocker arms.
Do you do like eBay and shit like? Do you sell a lot of parts?
No, I'll put something out there every now and then, just kind of randomly when I realize it's been sitting around for a while. But no, I don't focus on used parts.
Just whatever we see randomly on the Instagram.
Yeah, I just don't have time for any of the other. I'm still trying to put my website back up and redo that.
Right.
I got as far as taking the other one down and haven't put another one back up yet.
Yeah.
Because I still need to do that myself too.
Yeah.
Because you can. It's easy. It's fun.
Yeah.
Because it's fun. It's just another thing to kind of get into.
Yeah.
But
gets the brain flowing.
You got to save a few hours at night and get that set back up. Because I've kind of got it built and loaded with a lot of stuff. A lot of bikes and things. I've just got to finish it, launch it.
Yeah. Do you still sell those airbag kits for the rigid seats?
Yeah, the rigid air kits.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yep.
Do you do any other products?
They just sent one down to Paul at Bare Knuckle.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
What's up, Paul? This is brought to you by Bare Knuckle, by the way. You guys will get that in the intro. You going to Mama Tried?
Oh no, I'm not gonna. No, I'm not gonna make that.
Okay.
That's soon. That's right.
Yeah, it's like 3 weeks
In
now.
a few weeks.
Yeah.
Not gonna be able to do that. I'm just getting to the point that I could try to get out to some things, because we've had so much going on the past few years with working on the building, and getting the shop set up and building out the shop, and like I showed you guys around the building that is my wife Ann's whole project, that she's doing. The rest of the building where my shop is, like I was showing you guys, is all going to be artist studios, retail, coffee shop, art gallery, all kinds of things. Her studio for her jewelry and metalsmithing, and then my shop. And the cool thing is that she's had this vision for years to find a place that she could do this and do this whole artist collaborative kind of thing,
Yeah.
and bring creative, like-minded people together. And I just, it happened to work out that I'm also a part of it with the bike shop, and it's just really, really cool that this place worked out right in the center of town in Port Jervis, and it's going to be kind of an important art center for the area.
Yeah.
Once she's done with it, and we're really close to her getting the doors open and getting people set up in here, and it's going to be an amazing event space and all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be cool.
Dude, it's gonna pump lifeblood right into this town.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a sleepy little town, and they've been so supportive. I mean, they've really been awesome about being behind her and us on doing this, and it's an exciting time around here. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many listeners right now. Like, when this is all done, man, this is like, you're building so many people's dreams, dude. It's cool as hell.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, she's wanted to do this for a really, really long time, and I'm just helping out, however I can with some of the structural stuff. But yeah, we're getting there.
Dude, I just thought of something. We don't gotta talk about it now, but remind me after. Like, my memory, you guys. I got a cool thing I think you'd like.
Okay.
A little art, like some art stuff.
I like cool
I think it'd be
things.
going to the right home. Yeah. Now I'm just jogging my memory. Anyways,
Okay. All right.
Yeah, just don't let me forget that. Just remind me.
All right. I will.
But yeah. So what was what year did you wind up leaving New York City to come here?
Oh. Yeah, we were stuck in the 90s for a while there. Weren't we?
Yeah.
I'm ready to go back.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, I mean, we could pick up where we left off. I just don't exactly remember where in the 90s we got lost in that
we
tornado.
only got up to like 94.
Right.
I do have a question for you. So it kind of seems like that you guys were in New York City and you guys were very content where you were at.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't seem like the world at large was too particularly important. Was there a year of where it was like all of a sudden we need to go to Sturgis, we need to bring some bikes to Sturgis, or was that like much later? Or was there like that desire to like go out and travel, and just because it's like such a kind of feels like a prominent thing in today of where like everybody's like we're ready to go out and meet people on bikes. Like we want to ride bikes and we want to meet these West Coasters, or we want to meet these
people from around the world.
Anywhere, you know, like we're ready to go.
Right.
And it kind of seems like, and not in any type of bad way, but like this was like a huge creative outlet for you guys, you know, like.
Well, you had touched on it earlier, like everyone had their regional thing, and the world wasn't as homogenized as it is now.
Right.
Was there a point in time, because you guys were really on the forefront of this, like in the 90s. Yeah. Then Discovery Channel blew up, but you guys were on the forefront before that. Like, was there a time when you guys were doing that New York City style chopper thing that you said, like Rick was saying, like, let's go to Sturgis, let's go to Moon Eyes, like, let's show the world what we're doing here. Right. Was there a point in time you remember that happened?
Well, I remember Larry going down to Daytona because it was, just, I think he'd finished, it might have been with Voodoo Chili. And his friend Grace, she had her new red pickup truck. It was like I forget what it was. But put the bike in the back of that and went down to Daytona because it was more like, he kind of enjoyed it. You could do some riding in the sunny weather, but it was more like, for the benefit of the shop, like advertising.
Right.
I was never really big into going to shows, going to big events. Not a big fan of crowds. But he would do a couple of those things. It was really like our local stuff, because like I said, that was kind of like our bubble, our world. We would do swap meets, right? That was kind of like a big deal. Like we would go to like over to Jersey or Pennsylvania or upstate or out to Long Island and do swap meets and take a bike or two, or like local bike shows and stuff like that. And and you could feel like you were achieving something, but it was only in like your little
your bubble of the world,
your little zone, you know what I mean? Between like Brooklyn and Queens and Manhattan.
Right.
And
But back
And that
then,
was
that's
kinda
when you
it.
got
But
a
that
lot
was-
of your customers too.
Oh yeah, because it was all local.
Yeah.
I mean, the day that some guys came over from Japan, and I think through the magazines were aware of the shop, and actually came to the shop from Japan. That blew our minds.
Yeah.
It's like, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
And you knew about us over there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that was
You
insane.
found this
Yeah.
place?
And now, you know, I mean, we're back and forth to Yokohama like it's no big deal. I mean, going to Moon Eyes, I'd gone a few times, and then I think the last time I went to Moon Eyes, it was literally like a week, like an overnighter, you know,
Right.
which was not a good idea.
Oh, I
to
kill
go
myself.
to
Being
go
on
to
a
Japan
plane.
for like a day.
Yeah.
You know, that was the worst idea. You know, because we're so used to this like global, you know, availability of, you know, information and events and the ability to, you know, to access it all. But yeah, when those guys showed up from Japan at the door, we just thought it was the craziest thing. And
I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess. Was it Silversmith Finn that you're talking about?
no,
Showed up?
no, that was much later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because he had told that story when I had him on with Peter Guns.
Yeah, that was once that was when we were in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Because he came around, I want to say, because we moved into the Brooklyn shop, because we had probably 3 or 4 shops before that, in 2000.
Okay.
And after we had been a couple of different places in Manhattan. Now, what I'm talking about was still on Rivington Street.
Wow.
And, you know, all we dealt with was just like really downtown. And I think Steg had just chased some bum down the street with a hammer or run off a drug dealer from the corner. But we had like a deal with them to stay, you know, off of our little stretch of sidewalk. And he's still chasing people around with hammers. But yeah, you know, so we had the shop there, moved up to Hell's Kitchen, and took over English Don's old shop because he was there for a while, and then let it go, and then we took his place when we left Rivington, and then from there moved over to a little shop in Brooklyn. I guess the former tenants were trying to burn us out of there and lit the place on fire and smashed a car into the roll down gate one night.
Holy shit.
And then we had to like, you know, guard the place until we actually moved over to another spot that was available like a block over. That was a lot easier to deal with in the south side of Williamsburg, below the Williamsburg Bridge. It was like South 8th Street.
Okay.
And we're there for a while, and then that's when Psycho Cycles, you know, sort of phased out, and then I moved over to 6th Street Specials. It was still over on 6th Street in the East Village,
Right.
and got a spot with Hugh over there for a couple of years.
Okay.
You know, doing my own work, and just, you know, for my personal projects and stuff. And so then that brings us back up to 2000, when you were asking about June,
Right.
Silversmith Finn,
Right.
When he came over to the new shop in Brooklyn, we got a few friends together that, you know, were interested in doing a shop again, including Larry, a friend of ours, Jamie, that is a tattoo artist, and another friend of ours, Peter, that was going to be doing paint, and myself, and then let's see, Kenny, that was working down at American Dream Machine, and another guy, Gerard, that was doing some managing down there, and Kano, who was also working as a mechanic at American Dream Machine. All of us came together and started the shop on North 14th Street in Brooklyn in 2000.
Okay. Would that be what was known as Gasoline Alley at that time?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the name. Larry didn't want anything in his name. Like, that was a whole different mindset at the time. He just wanted to, you know, not deal with that. He just wanted to do his own thing, but have it called something else. And it was even like weird, because as much as we wanted to just say like whatever choppers, or, you know, it, from a business standpoint at the time, it felt like you were alienating like other work. I mean, this was like discussions that we would have.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas now you'd be like, you wouldn't give a fuck. You just call it whatever you call it.
Right.
But Gasoline Alley just sounded sort of like a little cool, a little neutral, a little Motorhead, you know, a little, and you know, stuck for a while.
Right.
And eventually, you know, with some of the visibility that Larry was getting when he first did Motorcycle Mania with Jesse James, when he invited him to be on that, and you know, a few other things, then he kind of came around to wanting to call the shop, you know, Indian Larry. What do you call it? Indian Larry? Yeah, Indian Larry. Indian Larry.
Just Indian Larry, like
yeah, just
motorcycles.
I'm trying to think what it was at first. Yeah, just Indian Larry's. Yeah.
Did he kind of do that as like after the Motorcycle Mania thing? He realized like it would be way more financially beneficial to have things associated more with him, being that he was the guy in the spotlight at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume that was.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just that it made more sense.
Right. Right.
You know.
So every time you guys moved shops, was it like, all right, we got a mill,
so
we got a battleship lathe?
God, you must have
Like, did you guys have like a guy on call with like a fucking flatbed or something to wheel this shit on?
Like a rigger to get all this equipment.
Man. I mean, it was always a nightmare. I mean, because I counted, I think this is my 11th shop.
God.
And it just goes that way.
Yeah.
You know, you can't own anything in the city.
Yeah.
And you know, people are so like flaky, and landlords are flaky, and you think you can do whatever you want, and the next thing you know, you can't. And,
Right.
you know, we never had any money, and yeah, it was just all, you know, pickup trucks and friends, and then we would have to get a you know, riggers every now and then with a flatbed,
Right.
and they would chain up and drag the lathe across the sidewalk and into the street and up in the, you know.
Yeah, you're having
back
a fucking
of the
heart attack the whole time.
And then we'd have to go to a new spot and set up the airlines and
Yeah.
run the power. And we do all that ourselves, you know, fun, because it was never suitable. And you know, we would maybe like trade with guys, like, you know, I'd have an electrician friend that trade him a gas tank or a frame to do the electrical, or we would just do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, because Larry knew all that stuff and I picked up all that stuff. So we would just have to, you know, wire and plumb our own shops
Right.
every time. And you could pretty much do whatever you wanted for the most part. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, they would just, so they'd get the rent and wouldn't really care what you were doing.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I guess that's the one good part about New York City is it's like all industrial building anyway. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I had another question there, but.
Just the one more?
What? Yeah. What would you say throughout all these years, man? Like right up until right now, would there be a time period that was your favorite, or that like in your head you kind of romanticize as like that was those were the days, you know?
Yeah.
Was there a period of time that you look back at that?
You know, there were chunks of time in different ways that I would say yes to that question, but in different ways. And, you know, going back to where we were first talking about, you know, that energy and that kind of excitement in like, say, 93, 94, you know, I mean, we were all riding around New York City like a Dave Mann painting, you know, all full leathered out on rigid choppers, going into bars where everybody knew you, and you know, just rolling up right on the sidewalk at the front door of every place we went, and you know, knew the lay of Manhattan like the back of your hand. And, you know, it was just an amazing time. And then we get into the 2000s, and you know, you get into the whole Discovery Channel days, and you know, what a blast that was. I mean, how fun was that, traveling the world?
Right.
Basically, you know, getting paid to travel the world. You know, I mean, that it was almost like the polar opposite of a decade earlier, where I didn't really know what was over the East River,
Right.
you know, or what was past, you know, the Hudson.
Right.
And I shouldn't say the East River, because we did make it to Brooklyn and Queens every now and then, but yeah, so
Yeah, I mean, taking planes to Japan for a day is a far cry from six packs and Slim Jims.
yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, no, those were some incredible incredible times. And the thing is, you know, there would be chunks of time that would just be sort of peaceful and really not many highs and lows. Those early days, the excitement of like the discovery days, different times in between, you know, there were probably a lot more lows than highs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, sometimes we're really like, you know, edgy and sketchy and violent, you know, and really like deeply intense years, you know, with the shop and the people that you were around and, you know, the environment at the time in those circles. And, you know, but as human beings, you know, we tend to remember a lot of the fun stuff and a lot of the exciting times. Yeah, but it's all, you know, life balances out one with the other.
Right. Yeah. You had said you still love riding. Are you like a long distance kind of guy? Like, will you get out and just do a solo trip, or like local riding is what you're talking? Have you ever been a long distance, like?
Oh, sure, have been. Yeah.
Load up the bike and leave for a while.
I mean, it's been a long time. More from just like a time standpoint. Yeah, I feel like we've been bouncing all over the place. I'm sorry if I get.
No, that's totally.
This is gold. Trust me.
It's me.
Yeah.
It's me. But yeah, I mean, I did a thing with what was it? It wasn't Iron Horse anymore. It was when I guess they became
the horse.
and they were doing the Stampede.
Yeah, that was the
remember
horse
that?
country race.
Yeah. So from like Arizona to North Carolina, a couple of days ride there was great. We used to have a family place, my wife's family up in New Hampshire, and she and I had ridden up there together, and I would always ride up on the bike. You know, it's
a good road trip.
You know, 300-400 miles, whatever. A nice afternoon, stuff like that's always great. I mean, right now, more from a time standpoint, it's mostly back and forth to the house.
Right.
And every now and then, if there's something not too far away, maybe that I could get to, but to be able to like ride to an event or something like that, it's just more of a time constraint than anything else.
Well, at least you're in good riding in this area now.
Yeah.
Like, whereas New York City, you had to get the fuck out of it, you know, if you wanted to really hit the road.
Yeah, I mean, I miss the intensity of riding in the city because I mean it's an acquired taste. Yeah. It's a skill unto itself. I mean, if you see people driving or riding, mostly driving, in Manhattan that are just outright driving like assholes, usually if you look down, it's Jersey plates. Right. Because it's not what it's about. Yeah. And people just think, oh, you just drive crazy and do whatever you want. I mean, it's true that the stoplights are basically a suggestion. Right. And it is an aggressive riding style, but there's like a rhythm and a flow to it. Yeah. And you know, if you do the same thing, I mean, I'm not telling you anything, but you know, I think people have like a little bit of a misconception that it's not like this all out, you know, scary, crazy thing. It's a flow, right? It's a rhythm. And I miss that as well. I mean, I love riding Hawks Nest and along the Delaware River and through the mountains. And I mean, up here is amazing. It's, you know, in direct contrast to the other way of riding. Right. And that was definitely a blast. Yeah.
I think it's the best place to cut your teeth is New York City on a chopper.
You gotta do it right. And you would know your routes, and you know, you just, you know, hand shifting with no front brake. And I mean, I did have a friend on with a long Springer front end that folded that up on the back bumper of a taxi one night. But you know, it went back to the shop and got hammered out straight and continued on.
New D-rake project.
Yeah, it's different. It's like I tell people, it's like from New York, people always ask what it's like riding there. I always want to go there. And I say it's the best and the worst place in the world to ride, you know? Like, there's nothing like fucking shredding a bike through the Manhattan lights at midnight or fucking, you know, doing a burnout or a wheelie in Times Square. Like, there's nothing fucking better than that. but it's not the mountains of Utah. You know, it's just different. You
I
know?
mean, when you've got your little
It's
pack,
different.
you know, and you're doing your thing, and it's like fucking you're blasting through traffic, going to the bar, and you're gonna pull up out front,
Right.
and it's just it's the fucking best.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so the thing though about like having to get out of the city to really get some miles on, it's also the reality of having a bike shop and then wanting to say test ride a bike that you just got done building.
Right.
And that's all you have to work with until, like you said, like a half an hour later, you can actually get out on some open road.
Right.
So it is difficult to say you've got a new engine to break in, or you really got to see, shift through the gears and see what this bike is doing. Here, I can do this right out the door.
Right. Right.
But there, it was, you could, difficult, because you could go like around the block and, try to like get through a few gears, but you'd really have to, lock everything up and really have this, make an effort to get out and do some long distance test drives, because you couldn't really do it there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it
that's
always
about
scares
that.
me. A new engine in Manhattan in the hot summer, like
Yeah.
cooking.
First thing, yeah, exactly.
You're
stuck and it's just sitting there
Yeah.
boiling over. Exactly.
Yep.
It's the worst.
Yep.
Yeah, so of course you're immediately like on the sidewalk and splitting lanes
Right.
just to keep some air flowing over the
Right.
way. Until you can get on the BQE and then it's just beating the shit out of you.
Right.
'Cause
Right.
it's pothole after pothole.
Yep. I always wanted to ask that. Like, you were around back then. Were the roads a little better in the 90s? Or they were just as bad?
No,
They were just shitty?
Yeah. Oh, it's funny.
Yeah.
There was this guy, was he leaving? It might have been Hogs and Heifers. You remember Hogs and Heifers?
Of course.
No?
Yeah, I was there the last night they were in
Meatpacking
business.
district?
Yeah, yeah.
Because there was a guy, I heard him tell the story. He was another friend of mine's buddy. But he was on his I think he was a panhead or a shovelhead sort of dresser. And he was blasting out of there. I think he'd gone up and he was going across, I forget which street, it might have been on 14th, whatever he was on. And he hit a massive pothole. He's already drunk out of his mind anyway. So he hit a massive pothole, bent his rim, bent his front end, tossed him in the street, fucked the bike all up. And so he's standing over there, he's like wrangling the thing up, he could barely stand up. And he was so pissed, he's waving cops over because he's so pissed about the fucking pothole destroying his bike. Not even thinking about the fact that he's just
Fucking
Clearly
drunker than
wasted.
shit,
Yeah.
could barely stand up. But he was so pissed, I think it almost like took the drunk out of him.
Right.
And actually, long story short, ended up winning a lawsuit with the city
Really?
and actually got paid because of that pothole instead of getting a ticket for DUI.
That's
Right.
insanity.
But yeah, I mean it was bad because the other friend used to refer to a lot of those potholes as low-income housing. They're so bad.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
But yeah, I mean there's some areas that are a little bit nicer actually than they used to be that they've been working on.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, when you
otherwise-
said you were in Hell's Kitchen too, the only thing I think of is like that was like the New York City hooker capital of the city at that. I
Right.
mean, before they cleaned it up, honestly, like
Yeah.
it's for people that don't know, it's like right next to Times Square. It was like pretty dirty area.
Yeah, we were further. We were on 38th, right, like near the Javits Center.
Right.
And
Like
where-
38th and 10th, like.
Yeah,
right there.
yeah, exactly, like 10th Avenue. Yeah, in those areas, you're right. Yeah. No, it's
Yeah, I
definitely
mean Times
Hookerville.
Square is only fucking 10 blocks. It's not that far from there.
No,
you
it's just
know?
a few blocks over.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, they would definitely go over there.
Yeah, that was an interesting area.
Yeah.
it's nice now, but
Yeah.
You know.
I feel like I can't even like really fully understand what New York City used to be. Like, I hear all the stories and everything, but like you don't see it.
Yeah, I think even when we moved over to Brooklyn, moved the shop over there, that was in 2000. I'd moved over there from my apartment on the Lower East Side. I'd moved over there in '94, and Ann and I did, my wife and I did. And it was still like in Williamsburg, it was still just crickets. It was just local Polish and Italian, and then down towards the bridge was Hispanic, and then the Hasids, the Jewish Hasids. And then artists, that would just get cheap, like commercial space. So that's kind of why we moved over there, just to get, we lived in a storefront that was like an old luncheonette or something like that. and Williamsburg that you could get cheap because nobody was there.
No shit.
And you know, and then look what that turned into.
Yeah.
And so then in 2000, it was still kind of the same thing. When, you know, we wanted to get back together and do a shop, there was still really, really cheap commercial space, and we got the place on 14th Street, right on Kent Avenue. That was a major trucking route. Now it's like insane, you know, condo buildings and high rises and on all this kind of stuff. But those are just abandoned little lots on the river. And soon after we had moved into the shop over there, there was something in the news about finding like a decapitated hooker's head in a dumpster at the end of the corner.
Yeah.
And you know, because it was still that kind of area.
Yeah.
And,
Yo, I worked for the Long Island Railroad, and when I started there, I was in the Manhattan Yard right next to the Javits Center. And like payday, dude, the hookers would be waiting at the fucking gates. Seriously, it was so crazy back then. Like,
yeah, it was just cab stands.
Yeah.
Right. Because all the garages that did the taxi cabs, and the hookers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's where you know English Don.
I don't personally know him, but I know of him. Yeah.
Because when he was he and Steg that started Psycho Cycles. He and Steg were initially, before Psycho started, in Queens, and they had SD Cycle.
Okay.
Steg and Don.
Steg and Don.
And then they split up, and Steg started Psycho Cycles on Avenue C in the East Village, and Don kept the name SD and continued SD Cycles and moved up to Hell's Kitchen. So he ended up having this bike that became the Babylon Taxi, kind of a well-known bike, and he built that up when he was up in Hell's Kitchen and had the shop there, right amongst all these taxi cab repair shops. And I don't know if he actually had one of them maybe painted because it was the same yellow. But,
was it checkered too?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Oh, you haven't seen the Babylon Taxi?
No,
I'll look it up.
Yeah.
But I think it was inspired a little bit by the fact that he was surrounded by taxi stands, and that's where they would set up all those cars and paint them.
Yeah.
And then when he ended up leaving out of there and letting that shop go, we were at the same time leaving ours on Rivington, so moved up and into that space for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
So. Would you, like, along this whole time, were you mostly just the leather guy at that time, or or did you kind of in your younger years start all this metal skill, or was it like started off mostly leather work and then got into paint? Like, what was the order of progression there? Like, because you just do it all now. I've said it on a lot of podcasts. I think you're like the highest level of like multi-talented guys. Like, I don't know anyone who's on your level that does this many crafts. You know what I mean?
Really nice of you.
Like where did it start? Did it start with leather work and then go to metal or paint, or like in the motorcycle world?
When I was still doing and still, paint and but I'm talking about doing like painting on canvas type stuff and getting things in galleries and that type of thing. That's when we had an apartment on fuck was the name of the street? We're off Clinton and Stanton Street, a couple of blocks from Psycho, from the shop, on the Lower East Side. And I was doing leather work for bike guys and for myself out of the apartment as well. So I had set up like a studio area, and we're talking like a one-room studio with me and my wife. And there was a few square feet that was like the velvet couch with this really cool like red velvet couch and the TV and like books and the bed. And then there was the area that she had her sewing stuff, because she's also in fashion design, and I had my easel with my painting stuff, and then I had my little bike building leatherworking bench. So this was all within probably the size of your kitchen.
Right.
And so that's where I was doing leather work for other bike guys, and I had done some stuff for myself. And some people would see like, oh, that's a cool seat or a nice saddlebag or whatever. Could you do one for me? It's like, sure.
Right.
So I was doing all that out of my apartment, and doing some work with galleries, doing like installations and art moving and stuff like that. So I was doing leather work for the shop, for Steg and Larry, and for 6th Street, out of my space. And then one day they just said, hey, why don't you just come on over? You can do some fabrication work as well, and then set up a leather shop in the bike shop at Psycho. So I said, that's great. So that's why I was saying before, I had a spot upstairs next to where Larry was working, where I would do, bike work.
Right.
Like do, wrenching on the bikes and do some fabrication stuff, but, do like hourly rate type, repair stuff.
Right.
And then also had the space in the basement that was just my own little leather shop. So right from the beginning, it was always both. And as far as the shop as a whole, I would do some work, on the fabrication end, but then the leather work would be mine on the finished bikes. So then people just kind of made that natural association.
Right.
But it was kind of always both from the beginning. And then the leather work was just kind of my independent thing.
Right.
As well. They always kind of paralleled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to kill too much of your time here.
I do have one more
how much
question.
more time you want to burn, but
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Go for it. Yeah.
Where did the
We're
TIG
just rolling along.
welding?
It's fine. But,
Okay.
Where did the TIG welding come into play? Were you guys doing like a lot of MIG welding? Because I feel like that you guys taught America what a TIG welder was. Because one day you needed to have a TIG welder. Nobody knew what a TIG welder was, but everybody knew that these
So
guys
funny.
on this show had them,
Right.
and that we all couldn't do anything without them.
Right.
Oh man, that's so
I never
funny.
thought of it like that, but I know what you're talking about.
I never thought what he said.
Well, the first TIG welder I got, I couldn't even find one in New York, dude. I went to it was just outside of Philly in South Jersey to get my first fucking TIG welder. Like, nobody TIG welded until like post 05. Like, it was hard to find a local TIG welder
funny.
guy. That was like most of my work back then.
Because Larry always did, because he was doing a lot of, in his early days, besides the bike stuff, he also did a lot of architectural metal work and a lot of iron work.
Right.
And that's one thing that I wish I knew, but he's done a lot of architectural iron work in the city.
Uh-huh.
Like gates and doors and things that you can walk right by it and not know that Larry built it.
No shit.
So he, did a lot of that type of welding, stick welding and, MIG and stuff, but also TIG. He was just a really proficient welder in all facets, and brazing. So he taught me brazing. He eventually, I kept nagging him to show me how to TIG weld. And, just always too busy, too much to do, we didn't have time to sit down. And then it was a few years in, and one night, it was another guy worked with us, Knucklehead Steve. That was an old friend of Larry's as well. And he and I were in there one night. Larry had already left, and we're like, fuck it, we can figure this out. And we turned everything on and just started kind of like, playing around with it. And, one thing led to another, and just kept like, practicing. And then Larry was like, oh, okay, let me really show you how to do it.
Right.
And
He comes in, his tungstens are all
Yeah.
oh, I'm sure everything was all fucked up. All the settings are all. And that's when we still had this big, talk about dragging equipment around, this big like Lind
That was my first machine.
welder.
Yeah, big
Was it like
green.
the size of a Volkswagen?
Yeah, I used to call it my big green money machine.
Oh my God.
It was literally like stood this tall.
Yeah.
It was like 3x2 or whatever. It was fucking huge.
Yeah, it was massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had a.
So that's what we had, and then it was cool because actually because we still had that down at Rivington, and Larry would wherever we would set up, the frame table would always be near the machine, and he would just run a steel, like weld off a strap to the frame table.
Okay.
So across the floor, so it was just always permanently grounded.
Oh,
Because
no
everything that he
shit.
was welding or making was on this table.
Oh, that's so
So
cool.
that was just always hardwired to the ground on the machine.
Oh, that's fucking smart.
He wouldn't have to grab it.
Just bolt the
Right,
eyelet
sure.
right to the machine.
Yeah.
I mean, to the table.
Yeah, just welded a strap across the floor.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah, so we had that old machine. We had an old Bridgeport, which the first one, I don't know where the first one went, but then the second Bridgeport we had is that one that's over there, behind in the corner, that we had on 14th Street in Brooklyn. But yeah, we had that old welder for a while. But then, like, to fast forward after some of the stuff with Jesse and the Motorcycle Mania stuff, Jesse was doing a lot of things with ESOB at the time. You know, ESOB welders.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he sent us a bunch of stuff from ESOB, which was amazing. I mean, I think we had a Miller at the time. We might have actually upgraded to having a proper, you know, a modern, like, Miller or whatever. And so Jesse sends over all this ESOB stuff, and it was, you know, a MIG, like a big TIG, a little TIG, and a plasma cutter, right? So Larry's all excited about the plasma cutter.
Yeah.
And pulls that thing out, we set it up. So the first thing he does, he gets a piece of sheet metal and lays it on the same table, and then just goes to cut it like, I don't know how he magically thinks it's gonna know how thick the metal is or something, but he just cuts it like right on the table.
Right.
So there's this big, I think it's over on this, but there's a big cut through the table, I think it's on that side, where he just like laid the metal on it and did a cut.
Where it
Oh,
just
here,
started
here
like
it is, here it is.
gouging out the table.
Yeah, no, he goes like, oh, let me try it out. So that was Larry trying a plasma cutter for the first time.
That's
my
hilarious.
On a chunk of sheet metal.
That's too fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, how does this work?
That's cool. Were you guys tight with Jesse before Motorcycle Mania, or is that how you guys met him? When Motorcycle Mania started? You guys know him before that?
I think we would run into each other because he was, you know, really dug Larry and you know his whole vibe and everything that he was doing, and brought him along on the Motorcycle Mania deal, and him and Chopper Dave and Giuseppe and Jesse, and they did that ride out from Jesse's shop out to Sturgis, and then I think I'm trying to remember when I met Jesse. I think when he came to the shop, because he had come over a few times over to the shop in New York, and we met. But also being into, you know, hot rods and stuff, you know, I've always been in this car club, the Rumblers.
You're in the Rumblers?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no shit! I
Yeah,
didn't know
since
that.
they started out in '96.
Awesome.
And so you know, Jesse had come out for some car stuff, and we would get together at you know, that type of thing as well.
Cool.
But yeah, so they had, you know, they did the Motorcycle Mania thing, and you know, that really kind of kicked Larry up a notch. And I remember, you know, Larry saying, he was like relaying a story when he was talking to Jesse, kind of like, you know, the visibility is great and this is really, really cool, so, you know, now what do I do? Like, what's next? And Jesse's response was sort of like, you know, I gave you that much. I mean, now you've got to do something with it.
Right.
You know, so you've got this opportunity, you know, this visibility, and so now take that and grow it. You know, now do something with that.
Right.
And I think, you know, Larry kind of took that to heart, and you know, it even goes back to putting himself in New York City, same as I did. You know, you could be doing amazing work under a tree out in Wyoming someplace, and if nobody knows about it, then it doesn't really do you any good, you know, professionally or whatever. And, you know, Larry grew up upstate New York, but wanted to be in New York City, wanted to be where things were happening, and, you know, basically the center of the universe. I mean, these days you can pretty much do anything anywhere,
Right.
and build a business around it, because, you know, you can share it with the world. Back then you had to physically like uproot yourself, and, you know, that's in the arts. I mean, that's why I wanted to be in New York City.
Right.
Same as my wife in fashion, and same with, you know, Larry with what he wanted to pursue. So you know, that's what you had to do, is to be where, you know, things were happening.
Right.
And that's where we kind of converged, you know, for the same reason.
Being a kid that grew up in Richmond, Virginia, did you always like romanticize moving to New York City even as a young kid?
No, it wasn't even on my radar until I was in college. Maybe in college, I guess. You know,
Yeah.
didn't think much about it.
Right.
I mean, I was always into the arts ever since I was little. Always painting and drawing and building stuff, and you know, the mechanical stuff kind of, you know, came from some time early on with my dad, and then, you know, he sort of shared a little bit. I mean, he was into it, but we did some stuff together, but it might have been just more of like a born-in kind of thing.
Right.
Because we didn't really do the buddy stuff at all. Because then they split up when I was pretty young, so it was just me and my mom, sort of, you know, moving around in apartments. And but that stuck with me. I always loved like the Motorhead, you know, mechanical stuff. I was always obsessed with anything mechanical, and loved the arts, loved painting and drawing, and always had access to some sort of materials that I could be creative with.
Right.
So that never ended. And
Dude, the drawings are fucking outrageous. I didn't know you were that into the drawings.
oh, thanks, man.
I'd always heard you were just a painter at, you know, before bikes and all that, but I saw your stuff on display at Culture Lab this year.
Oh, cool. Some of
Fucking
the
wild.
sketches.
It's amazing.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, it's like, it's wild, but I mean, that's got to consume a lot of your time, all these drawings and sketches and bikes you're drawing up. Do you still spend time throwing paint on a canvas also, or mostly just drawing?
It's been a while, and I picked up some materials recently to kind of get myself motivated to maybe do some canvases again. But that specific aspect, it's been a while. But you know, when people ask about that, you know, knowing some of my history, I just find that you know, all of it is just this sort of, you know, creative way of life, and it's all exciting to me. And I do go back to the drawings of the bike projects because I like to see them. Sometimes what I have in my head, I like to see it on paper. I like to visualize it, and you know, I like to do the sketches and the drawings ahead of time, just because I enjoy it.
Right.
And it's just another aspect of the journey and of the process that just kind of fleshes it out even just a little bit more.
Right.
So I just kind of dig that.
Through the drawings, do you always, like, I hear a lot of bike builders say this, like, I've got fucking 10 bikes in my head at all times that I'm just dying to build. Through the drawings, do you have like a lot of bikes that you're dying to build, or is it just when you're ready to build a bike, I'll do the drawing and start thinking?
You know, usually the drawing is kind of a byproduct, you know, a little ways into the process. It's not like needing to do it to figure it out.
Okay.
It's just, you know, something that I kind of think is cool to have around. But yeah, I mean, it goes back to the whole, like, you know, the next one's going to be a little bit better type thing.
Right.
Definitely thinking throughout the process, man, I can't wait to try it this way next time. You know,
Right.
Really, you know, say making a gas tank, doing the metalworking. I mean, that is such an intricate process. And you look at somebody like, we were looking at the hammer that Christian Sosa built, and somebody that specializes in that type of work like he does, you know, the finesse and the nuances are just so intricate that you could spend a lifetime just you know, trying to perfect that process.
Yeah, never stop growing with that.
As far as the bikes and the different ones you want to build, sure, I mean, right down to to their core, there's differences that you want to make in each bike. And sure, there's different designs overall and concepts and geometry I want to try and change up. Different tank shapes and paint jobs and engine combinations. I mean, I love, you know, kind of the wacky motors and mixing up, you know, the engine configurations and stuff. So there's always a few on deck.
Right.
Yeah,
do you have a bike
sure.
from your past that is your favorite? Do you have, like, do you think you've made your Mona Lisa yet? Like,
it's got to be the Berserker, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I did love that bike. And sometimes when a bike runs, it's like this knucklehead I did a few years ago, this green knucklehead. You know, when a bike runs and you're on it and just, it feels, I mean, for lack of a better word, just feels like butter. I mean, it just feels like you just kind of melt into it. And that bike felt like that.
Okay.
And before when I was still kind of like getting into building motors and getting into the engineering stuff, I was kind of, fortunate to say that Larry built that engine for me, and I learned a lot through that process with him. And I tell you, man, when he said this is the way to do this and that and the other thing, it worked.
Right.
That thing was fast.
Yeah.
And I loved the hell out of that bike. So I would have to say that was kind of my iconic choice. And I had it all over the place. Going back to our comments about opportunities to get, to be traveling around the world and doing some of those events with the bike, with your favorite bike, like on a ship or on a plane or whatever, and it's there when you get there. And how cool is that?
It's awesome. Yeah. Would that be the one that got away? You said you don't own it anymore.
No, I mean, I don't look at it like that. I mean, it served its. I loved it, and then when somebody offered to buy it, it served its purpose well. I mean, I had shit to pay for,
Yeah, I got you.
And when you really dwell on like, oh my God, it's a shame that was. I mean, it was a moment in time.
Right.
It was something that you never replicate identically any of the things that you do creatively through life, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to achieve something just as satisfying yet again. If you had to pick something out of the group that was maybe the most iconic, I would say that one.
Right.
For myself, but no, I mean, I don't miss it. It had a proper send off, and I went there to meet it and rode it over there. And no, I don't feel bad about that at all.
Right. Yeah.
That's living a good life.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's certainly my favorite bike. Have you ever seen a bike built by Kevin Bass?
Sure.
Christian, fuck, I'm not drawing a blank on his name.
Christian what?
Exian Leatherworks. Christian Marsh.
Oh yeah.
He did a leather cover on that bike. I was just curious if you ever seen that bike. But he calls it the Zeus bike. It's a leather wrapped tank with like the Zeus lightning bolt
Kevin
on and
has?
shit. Yeah, it's Springer front end. Yeah.
I've never seen that.
But that's the only other leather covered bike I ever saw. He did it like years after yours, obviously. I mean, it was like probably 10, 15 years after you built that bike. He maybe built it like 5 years ago,
He does some neat stuff. Now, Kevin's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's awesome. And Christian's he does some awesome leather work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he does beautiful leather work.
Yeah.
He really does. But it's funny about the Berserker. I remember Chopper Dave would always say, Chopper Dave over in California?
Never met him, but I know him.
Okay.
I know of him,
He heard something about that bike, I don't know, and he says, "Oh man, I thought it looked like shit. I thought it was gonna look like shit. I thought I was gonna hate it." And then he said, we saw it. He said we were at something, and he came up. And he was like checking it out up close, and done so much like little engineering metalwork things, and everything was all like tweaky and weird on it, and he's like, "Oh, but once I saw it in person, I changed my mind. But I thought it was gonna be shitty. I thought it was stupid, because somebody had said, oh, the leather covered panhead thing or whatever."
Yeah.
But,
nah, man, it was cooler than fuck. Did you think that you had invented the wheel when you're like, I'm gonna fucking leather wrap this bike? Did you think it was the coolest idea you ever had at the time?
No, there was a guy that was running around the East Village Flash that had a bike with like a cowskin cover, like a pony covered saddle, right? It had like pony skin on it. And I think that was kind of stuck in my head a little bit, thinking about like incorporating leather into the bike, and it just had a really kind of cool, vibe to it. And then one thing led to another with doing the whole scales. I mean, I'd done a Triumph earlier on with sort of like a similar, like cruder version of that.
Okay.
And when I had this Triumph chopper that was actually in the old Iron Horse a long time ago. And that was sort of the beginning of that concept. And then when I did the panhead, I was like, oh, let me like really do it better.
Yeah.
And machining like these spiky axle nuts and just all It's like everything had to be weird and one of a kind.
Even the fender struts, like, God only knows how long it took to fucking make those. Like, you know, the whole bike. You know?
Yeah, a lot of little odds and ends.
Was that originally built for you though? Like, was that a personal ride when you were building
When I built it?
or did you have a customer already?
No. That was my bike. It took years to build that damn thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably took like, I don't know, probably like 8 years to build it. It was just like collecting stuff, and you know, like my wife gave me a Magneto for my birthday, and then Larry gave me a Super B carburetor, and then I got the frame from Stevie, and then, you know, somebody gave me something else, and then, you know, because we would like gift each other presents of parts at like Christmas and stuff like that, and you know, just collecting things like one at a time, because I couldn't afford shit, and eventually got it all together. No, I was building that for myself. It was my bike.
Cool.
But yeah, then somebody just eventually just offered, you know, the right money to buy it.
Right. I totally understand that.
The number was right.
Yeah, I get it. That's my hoarder mentality. In my asking people, how did you sell that? How'd you get rid of that? You know?
Oh, no
I'm
way.
just like, oh fuck, dude.
Love them and let them go.
Yeah. I definitely sell my share of shit, but goddamn, I gotta hoard these days. I gotta figure that out. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to burn up all your time or whatever.
Yeah, I'm good.
So you look at your phone.
What year? No, I just.
I don't know if that was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here, dude.
No.
But
I'm good.
Yeah, I don't know. What were you gonna ask? You was gonna ask something?
No, I was gonna say, which year are we up to?
Oh God, I don't even know, man.
Story.
I feel like I feel like I don't want to ask the dreaded question, but I feel like we're pretty much up to like where Larry had died. Like we're in the early 2000s, kind of, sort of like how you met Jesse James and all that.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know, we bounced around like the Sturgis days at that time. Berserker was already built. Like, I mean, that was pretty much like that would be a chapter in your life, right? I mean, after Larry died, having to figure out what is going on for you, like, are you gonna open up your own shop? You guys said you did the legacy thing for a while. Like, that must have been a hell of a hard time in your life, man. Losing your best friend and all that, you know?
Yeah, we stuck together. I mean, there was the whole few years that seemed like an eternity, but like all the Discovery Channel days, you know, were really all kind of compressed into a few years. And, you know, that led up to the last build-off that Larry did against Mondo, you know, when we rode down to North Carolina and lost Larry, you know, that weekend. And yeah, it was crazy. It was an intense time. But the outpouring and response from people, and you know, was so much that they wanted to see this thing continue and not just evaporate.
Right.
You know, that we had built. And Larry was all about the team. You know what I mean? He never didn't say, you know, the team this, or, you know, us and all, you know, he was inclusive of everybody that helped him along the way. And, you know, he was definitely loved being the showman, but admittedly he was being a showman. You know, he loved like the big, you know, Ed Big Daddy Roth kind of vibe. And, it's like he would be Ed Roth and I was more Von Dutch. Like, leave me alone. I'll just be sitting over here in the corner, you know.
Yeah. Did he ever try and drag you into the show business end of things?
He wanted to be out there and be the showman. He loved it. And I was kind of conveniently just off to the side doing my own thing. And didn't sort of have to do that.
He never dragged you to Coney Island and tried to get you
Oh,
on
he dragged me all over the
something?
place. Yeah, no, it was great because he would make a point of saying, like, you know, he got this gig to do a show in Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
And said, you know, but I want to bring Paul along too. And it's like, okay, that's cool, you know. And a lot of times he would do that and you know, bring us along as well. And like I said, he was really into the fact that, you know, he had a crew and it wasn't just him by himself doing everything. And but you know, he saw as part of the job to be sort of like in the spotlight and be the showman, because he was really good at it. And he loved it. He would say, like, this is really what I want to do. I love doing the show.
Right.
You know, he loved the attention, and he had like a charisma, and people would kind of feed off of that, and you know, so.
Yeah, it seems like that all of you guys had your own specific, like, big strengths.
Right.
And that all worked out very well together.
Yeah. Can I take a piss real quick?
Sure. Go for it.
You back after these lessons? We had fun with all that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, I bet.
Yeah, that must
It was
have
a
been
blast.
such a fucking awesome time, man.
It was nuts, man. And
It's like you guys lived a lifetime in 5 years, like in a block.
it really
you know?
did feel like that, because it was a whole different sort of vibe that happened overnight. And, you know, with Larry doing the thing with Jesse, and then at the same time, I don't know the actual dates and times, but, you know, Billy did that first build-off show with Roger Bourget.
Yeah.
The first one that they did, I think they did it at the Smokeout.
Yeah.
So Billy also was a big proponent of getting, you know, Larry some visibility as well. Because, you know, he liked Larry and thought he had some pretty cool stuff to offer, and was already connected with the Discovery Channel people. So, you know, between Billy and Jesse sort of being behind Larry getting some airtime,
Right.
that all, you know, really kind of started to happen. And then it, you know, just kind of, he, you know, carried on from there. But, you know, we just, yeah, we had a blast. And it was, you know, the other thing that was kind of cool at the time that you saw, or interesting, I should say, that you saw transition through those few years that they were doing those shows, is that at first, like literally the first few episodes, there wasn't anything like reality TV except for that thing, The Real World, that was on MTV, where they would just put a bunch of idiot kids in an apartment and just, you know, let them implode on each other.
Yeah, there wasn't like a full format of where that
I
existed.
never thought about that. That like that was like the dawn of reality TV.
It really was. It was.
I never
so
even thought of
the thing is, and think how many, you know, especially like, you know, automotive and bike and tattoo based stuff there is.
Now.
Thousands of them.
Yeah.
But there was nothing. So my point being, there wasn't like a formula. There wasn't like a recipe or a format as to what worked. So the first few shows in the first few years, dealing directly with the you know, the crew, and there was always a producer on site, and then the film guys and stuff. It was always genuine when we dealt with it, but it was even more so because they didn't know what they were trying to get.
Yeah.
They were literally just a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
Right.
Hoping that, you know, the audience thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So at that
You know.
time it was pure reality. They weren't asking you to
Yeah,
do
and-
any
and-
bullshit.
And in a good way, in
Right.
a really good way. And like I said, we kept it that way. And we're really fortunate to have always worked with great people. I mean, I don't have, I mean, I'm sure there could be something I've heard of, but I don't have like stories of, you know, manipulation or a lot of behind the scenes bullshit.
Right.
Because, you know, we were never really put in that position because we were dealing with good people.
Your friends.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and it was usually people that had been, you know, filming or working on other stuff that we had worked with before. You kind of knew your vibe or whatever. But my point being, though, as the years would, or the shows would go on, they start to see what worked.
Right.
And they would come in with expectations. So in the beginning, you just get that really genuine fly on the wall kind of thing where, you know, they're not even necessarily into, you know, things mechanical, or know that you're working on something really important. But you'll have to, you know, just expect that maybe they catch it on film. But, you know, then they'll start to see the things that work, and then they'll try to catch certain aspects of stuff that they know is going to play to the audience well.
Yeah.
But the timelines and all that kind of stuff, we stayed, you know, genuine to them. And if we had X number of days, I mean, that's what we would use to do what we had to do, and all that kind of stuff. But you really, you know, you saw the expectations change over the years.
Right.
when they saw what worked season after season.
Do you think if Larry was alive today, do you think you would still have gone on your own? Like, did you always have a desire to do your own thing anyway?
When we were together at that phase, I don't know if I would have even thought about that.
Really?
No, because
Okay.
I would have still had other things that I would do independently, like the fine art stuff.
Mhm.
You know, let's say maybe I would still be, you know, doing paintings or trying to get stuff in galleries or whatever. But with this, no, things were great.
Mhm.
I mean, we just were like a team, he and I.
Right.
You know, I mean, we fed off each other. As far as this stuff, we fed off each other creatively, just, you know, constantly.
Mm-hmm.
We balance each other out a lot. And as much as it's funny because design-wise, as much as he was sort of the crazy one, he would always like dial me down on design stuff.
Right.
Like I would say, what about this? And we do this, and this whole crazy thing here. And you know, he just liked really super clean and minimal.
Right.
When it came to like mechanical and engineering things. But at the same time, it still had to be intricate and like, you know, like you would always say, gizmo-y and you know, the metal flake paint.
Exposed.
So it's kind of like a little bit of a, you know, almost a contradiction.
Right.
But he still liked like a really clean, simplistic, you know, geometry and silhouette. But at the same time, really seeing what's happening inside, you know, as much as possible.
Right. Right.
Exposing the inside. I mean, that's what used to drive me crazy about bikes. Like, you know, we talk about the yuppie softails across town, is just sheet metal and things that covered up other
Right.
things.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, that would be like,
Which-
you would say it's like a sailboat.
Right.
Who
right.
cares? You know, it's not, you can't even see what's going on in the thing.
Which came to rule that era. Like, not to
Yeah.
put any names out there, but like in my head, I think of like Eddie Trout style bikes, or you know, your typical like OCC, like sheet metal-y, cover everything up, you know, which, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they all had their style.
Right.
you know.
Right.
It just didn't have to be ours.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I have this picture of like
Right.
you guys all standing on a street corner, and then like a Coney Island bike comes around the corner, and you guys are just like the opposite of that.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we need.
Right.
That's fun.
Right.
That's
Did you
fun.
guys ever did people really pull at you at that time to do like wide tire bikes and shit, or they just knew like this ain't what we're doing here?
Not really. Like big beach ball type times.
Yeah. Because you guys never really crossed
Not-
over like
not
180 or 200,
really.
right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if there was a couple of bikes, if there was something that went out with a 200 on it, I mean, that
Right.
was rare.
Right. Right.
But, you know, really, you know, going up to like a 180, which became kind of like a staple, that kind of became ideal geometry, is more than we would have done earlier on. You know, I mean, Larry was pretty much maxing out at like a 130.
Really?
You know, I think Grease Monkey was maybe a 150, which was big for that.
Okay.
But we ended up doing a lot of 180s, and I still think it's pretty nice without being too much discrepancy between the front tire and the back tire for cornering and stuff. I think a
Right.
180 is kind of a max ideal.
Yeah, I agree.
And, you know, even on stock, I think the new bikes now, most of them have like 180s.
Yeah.
But
It is, you go any wider and the bike starts feeling like shit. But I think aesthetically, the 180, like to get the lines and curves of a bike and like the portions right,
Yeah.
a fucking 180 and a 150 looks so good, man.
Mhm.
You know, like that might be a 180, right? Like,
Yeah,
I think proportionally a 180 is just such a good looking tire, man.
yeah. Yeah, and then there's a difference that I always go back and forth between putting it on a 16 or an 18.
Right.
Because, you know, that's
It's a
so
big
completely
difference.
different.
Yeah,
Because like
yeah.
that 16, it's just a little bit more of an earlier old school kind of look. You get more sidewall.
Mm-hmm.
And then like this 18 or the one that's over there on the 18,
Mm-hmm.
it gets that little bit thinner rubber band kind of racy look. But you
Right.
also, you know, you feel it in the corners. You get more cushion on that 16
Mm-hmm.
with a taller sidewall, and you get tighter cornering on that 18.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah, it just depends
all
on what you're
choices.
going for, but
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I guess that's a 180 also. A lot
On this
a lot
one?
going on. No, that one over there.
Oh,
You got a lot of 180s going on.
Yeah.
Even
What an
that guy.
A-box floating around.
Yeah, yeah. Hell yeah. But you're right, it is hard to beat the feel of a 130, you know? Like,
It can feel a little bit zoomier.
that thing
you know?
feels like, you get a 130, man, you can really corner with that thing.
Yeah.
It feels like,
That's
like you can flick it around, you know?
Yeah, because so often it's just a discrepancy between the front and the back, you know, balancing those proportions so that you're not rolling over on something that's going to, you know, kind of skew in a weird angle once you're on the side.
Right.
Or once you're in a corner.
Yeah, you start getting that, like, the tires are fighting each other feel, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
What else you got?
I don't know, man. I don't got much else. I didn't even expect this to turn into a documentary, basically. I didn't know what the hell to expect.
Well, we're here.
Dude,
I mean,
you're gold, man. You're gold. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
we're already here.
like, yeah. Do you remember, like, I mean, it must have been a hard headspace to get into building, like, or I mean, just starting to get into the shop again, like, without Larry. Being that, like, all these years, he must have taught you almost most of your craft to this point. Sounds like Larry taught you engines and a lot of metal work and TIG welding.
Yeah.
Like to I mean those years after him, like I'm just putting myself in your headspace because like I said, I had a bike shop with my best friend and lost him, and like I just remember like building that first bike without him. You know, like do you remember being in that headspace or what bike you did? The first bike that you did on your own after that?
I mean, it was surreal. It was weird. It was weird because there was so much interest in what was happening already, and then you know the following that came after was just phenomenal. I mean, we got back to the shop and we really had to sit and think, you know, what to do next. But there was this natural momentum that just sort of took over, and we just sort of felt like it just kind of spoke for itself. It just kind of dictated that we need to move forward.
Right.
And there was myself and Kano and Bobby and Elisa, and I think Bill was with us, and John, and you know, we just kind of looked at each other like, we just got to keep going. I mean, we can't just turn this off overnight.
Right.
And you know, I think it was the very next weekend, or like within a couple of weeks, you know, everybody wanted to know, well, like, what are you doing to commemorate this? And what are you guys going to do? What are you guys going to do? And you know, Bobby and Elisa kind of got behind putting together an event. You know, we had done one block party with Larry. I think just one. I think that was the first one.
Yeah.
And he, you know, he was having a blast. He loved that. That was the best. I think that's when we had the rocket. We had the rocket car. We had a rocket car out there and burned up melted the pavement in front of the shop.
Really?
Had to aim it towards the East River, towards Manhattan, so it wouldn't set another building on fire. It was nuts. So it just seemed like this natural progression to do some sort of a memorial event, some sort of a party. And I tell you, I mean, I've never seen anything like it, because there were tens of thousands of people. I mean, it like
that first block party.
Yeah, it just
yeah.
Well, the second one, the memorial one, it messes with your head.
Yeah.
Because there was like block and block and block, not just on our block for the shop, but the streets were just packed with people, and like the local, I guess you'd call them mounted police, but the bike cops, the motorcycle cops, throughout the day, you know, they had like their lights going, and they would just like circle the perimeter and keep getting like bigger and bigger, basically out of respect, you know, just kind of like creating this like bigger zone of Brooklyn for this crowd that was gathering like block after block, and it was just nothing like it. But you see that, and you know, the support and what people, you know, the love that they shared, and their interest in what was already going on, and it just felt like, you know, we just have to keep moving forward.
Right.
And we got together as like a family, as a team, and just decided, yeah, let's just pick up where we left off. And you know, we've been doing this together for so many years, and we're, you know, halfway through this project, and we have this one ongoing, and people want to see them completed and see more things happening.
Right.
So we kept moving forward, and that was, again, you know, a chunk of a few years that, I mean, that felt like a lifetime in and of itself.
Right. Almost like time moved real slow after that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
at least for a period of time.
It was weird, and you know, you don't know how to navigate that kind of stuff. I mean, people deal with that type of thing in their own way all the time, in certain situations. But you don't know what to do, you know. But sometimes there's just kind of this wave that just kind of carries you along that feels like the right thing at the time, and that's what we did. Just sort of listening to what felt right. And you know, we went on to do some neat things together, and eventually just came to a point where you know, we just wanted to kind of start doing our own thing again, and sort of phased out of that. Like, again, the time felt right to kind of move on, and then I moved, you know, on into my own shop, and Kano did the same thing. And you know, Bobby and Lisa kept moving forward with the Larry motorcycles.
At that time, was that the first time you became Paul? Oh, is it Paul Cox Industries officially? Like,
yeah.
Is that the first time you became an official business of just your own Paul Cox Industries?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. As well, I decided to do Industries just because there were so many things that I wanted to do under that brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And because I like doing you know.
Were you doing knives? Were you doing that before that?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, just kind of on the side.
Okay.
Yeah, just like a personal thing.
Uh-huh.
And you know, wanted to explore other things and not just be a bike shop, but you know, more just kind of a general, all kinds of creative stuff. You know, but based in motorcycles, but other facets as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I wanted to go under Industries. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I feel like it didn't kind of pigeonhole me into one thing.
Certainly not.
You can figure it out.
You're definitely a guy who wears a lot of hats.
Yeah,
You
it's a curse.
like
Wish I could just pick one thing.
a person that does everything like very deliberately. You know, like you're not just swinging stuff together like we do.
Right.
Do you come in here on like a particular day and you're like, I'm gonna do a knife today? Or do you get started on something and then that somehow turns into today you're making a knife?
Well, the list in my hand that I wrote the night before always start out like I'm going to walk in and make a knife.
Yeah.
And that turns into making a gas tank instead.
Okay.
And then, like, you know, 15 emails and
Yeah.
ordering parts, and maybe I start making a knife by about midnight.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it is as much as I want to try to control it and make like a schedule, it just kind of ends up being pretty organic.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you know, I want to try to have everything mapped out ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, when you come in and sometimes you gravitate towards one thing or the other, and I feel like just so I'm making progress,
Mm-hmm.
then it's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you got something that's really got to go out the door,
Sure.
and you just have to stop and do
Hammer
it.
down.
But it tends to be a little bit more organic than that.
Mhm.
Yeah, deadlines are a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like if I would never want to own a bike shop again, but if I was ever as big as you, I would just tell everybody, no fucking deadlines anymore. You'll get your stuff when you get it, you know?
Yeah.
But I guess
It doesn't matter who you are. I don't want to hear that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bummer knowing that no matter how big you get, you can never tell anyone. No more deadlines. I'll just get it when I get it.
Reward for good work is more work, right?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I try, man. Yeah, things. I try my best.
What's a typical wait time? If someone, let's say someone wants a seat for their chopper,
Mhm.
like, What's a typical wait time for that?
Well, everything's on different timelines because, you know, if I'm like a year or two out on a bike, somebody's not going to wait, you know, that long just for a seat because it's not all linear
Right.
like that. So, I mean, a seat might be like 6 months,
Okay.
you know, something like that. It's a little before or a little after. You know, things are just on different timelines. Same with the knives or with the full bikes or with, you know, some odd fabrication thing.
Man, the knives are a wild one. It's like, I always, it's like just, it's very out of left field. Although I know like bikers are into knives. Like I got a knife guy that sponsors this show. Like, yeah, it's just like, it seems like a whole different world you have to exist in to drum up business, because it looks like a lot of your knives are cutlery knives, right?
Yeah.
Like, is that did you ever exist in that world? Like, are you into cutlery, like, or cooking, or
So how that
like,
came
how'd that
about
come about? Yeah.
is making knives, mostly like hunting type stuff. And then there's an old friend of ours, Frankie DiCarlo, that had a few restaurants in the city, and mostly this one peasant down in Soho we used to go to a lot. And he started talking to me about knives that he used in his kitchen, and showed me some sketches, some ideas of some things that he thought would be ideal. You know, you know, you interested in doing that? So I did a couple of knives with him, and then one thing led to another. You know, somebody saw his knives and, you know, wanted to get something done, and that literally became like a whole other sort of, you know, subgroup of work and of a client base in chefs and restaurant owners that I still deal with, right? And you do find that you're talking to a guy about building a bike, and you find out that, you know, he likes to cook, or he owns a restaurant.
Right.
And then next thing you know, I'm making him a set of chef's knives. So sometimes you get that crossover, or somebody that hunts, you're talking about bikes, or, you know, at this point they'll just reach out directly. But early on, it could just spin off of talking to somebody about something else.
Right.
But Frankie was a big part of the whole, like, you know, chef's cutlery type stuff, and really got behind that, and, you know, that sort of took on a life of its own.
Right.
It's really cool. And it's the same thing with the other stuff we were talking about with the bikes, is just trying to make each piece a little bit more functional, a little bit more comfortable, work a little bit better, and then you're getting into metallurgy and hardening and tempering, which I do here in-house with my kiln, and I've got the Rockwell hardness tester over there.
Cool.
And, you know, it can really refine the product
Right.
a little bit more each time, you know.
Are you into hunting?
I never really was.
Okay.
My dad never really took me out or anything. You do some hunting, don't you?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
That's what I tell people I live for: hunting and Harleys.
Nice.
But yeah, I figured I'd ask. I never asked you that.
Yeah.
But I think that's a huge crossover with bikers. There's a lot of hunters out there.
Yeah. And the best is when they send you back, you know, pictures of them using it.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy made this guy a knife, and he sent me back a picture of him, you know, skinning an elk or some shit.
Right.
The thing sitting there. It's like,
Yeah,
damn, that is
in a display
awesome.
case.
Yeah.
It's meant to be a fucking tool. It's like all the chef stuff. I mean, you know, it's their right hand all day long, you know, 12 hours a day,
Yeah.
6 days a week,
Yeah.
and it's got to work.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's junk,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, I think knives are one of the cooler. You know, it's art really when you get into. It's everything from a craft to an art and all that, but it's an heirloom tool. You know, that's the coolest part. It tells a story for lifetimes.
Yeah.
You know, like those knives will be around for fucking generations. You know,
Yeah,
a
you hope
quality
so.
knife.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's also, you know, the fact that it's going to do a job is kind of like going back to the bikes compared to just pure art or
Right.
sculpture, where, you know, that
Functional
gets
art.
compared a lot. And, you know, art basically by definition is meant to serve no other purpose than just exist for its own sake. And I find the fact that motorcycles have to do a job and have certain parameters to function properly as a challenge, you know, that I enjoy in
Right.
creating within that sort of framework, because it gives you kind of something to bounce off of. And over the years, we've all seen sort of like, bikes as art that are so fucking out of left field that,
Yeah.
I mean, what am I going to do with that?
Yeah.
That does no job anymore at all. Where I kind of like that aspect, that challenge. And it's the same with the knives, that they have to serve a purpose, or should serve a purpose if you choose.
Right.
Choose for.
Well, it is a big thing in the knife world too, man. There's a lot of makers that just build like these silly knives, but you're like, what the fuck am I gonna do with that? Besides, it looks cool on a wall, like.
I mean, you can do fun display stuff too, but I just kind of find it even more rewarding. When it does a job. Yeah,
I mean, I feel the same way about bikes too. If they're not useful, I'm like, it doesn't tug at my heartstrings. Like, I want to be able to kick that thing and rip it,
Yeah.
Like, you're starting to see that a lot. Like, I can't get into the crazy, showy. They're cool, and like, obviously we're friends with a lot of these guys, but like, I don't know, once you cross that line of like completely unfucking usable, it's like, I don't know, it stops grabbing my heart. It's like,
Cool to look at.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, all these bikes aren't like rolling a bike off the factory floor, and like, there's a degree of rideability, there's levels to this shit, but like,
sure. Yeah.
But like, we all know, like, there's a lot of bikes that just cross that line. You're just like, you're not even fucking riding that a mile, like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just talking about what makes me happy, because I'm building stuff that I would enjoy riding.
Right.
So, that's just what I like about it.
Yeah.
Because what's better than having to, something that's that special, but then you can use it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and then on the other hand, a lot of bikes, in this show realm or whatever, from day one, they know they're just going to be on display somewhere, so I get it. You're still pushing the boundaries of your craft, but I don't want to shit on anyone for just building show bikes, but they just don't tug at my heartstrings.
I think that
there's so much talent out there.
Used to be a lot more the case, I think, in what's seen on the forefront, because these days I think there's definitely an elevated level of talent that's just phenomenal, and an interest in functionality, paired with the art of building, and the art that goes into the work that creates bikes that are functional and beautiful and really engineered well, and pretty amazing. So you see a lot of that lately, I think.
Oh yeah.
And there's an interest in that as opposed to just the dumb stuff.
Me personally, I never saw any of this coming, but did you think that the fucking skill level, or the game, let's call it, this art of building, did you ever think it would fucking just take off and be where it's at now? Like, the fucking bar has been so raised in the last 10 years.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Like, did you see that coming?
Every few years you'd see it sort of cycle between popularity up and down, and just from like a shop standpoint, or you're busy or you're not busy or whatever. But then, when a lot of stuff started to pop up on TV, and then everybody kind of jumped on board and thought, I'll sell everything and start a bike shop because you can make a fortune, or I'll just do it in my garage and be just as big as anybody else because I know how. Then you saw a lot of shitty bikes.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of, young guys and old guys just building junk.
Yeah.
Because they thought it was just that easy. So that kind of came and went. And then there was sort of like a little bit of a quiet time in the middle. But it's rebounded into, I think, a level of interest in quality along with uniqueness that's unsurpassed. Because people are really rethinking what a motorcycle is in some of these formats, and some of the things that people are producing that are just like mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some guys out there that are building stuff that had never even crossed my mind.
Right.
That I'm amazed by daily.
Yeah.
And that hasn't happened in a long time.
Right.
So no, I think this is a really pivotal time right now that we're in, and a really exciting time in motorcycles. And the fact that the manufacturers are kind of getting behind young builders and are not like shying away from it, and not they're like breaking down those barriers between there's factory bikes and there's choppers.
Right.
Well, you know, factories are giving chopper guys bikes to chop
Yep.
because they're realizing that it goes both ways and it works for everybody. And you know, that's creating some pretty interesting scenarios as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think we're living in the heyday of it right now.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
Well, we're at like
you
a
know.
really huge crossroads where you have like available technology, you know,
Mhm.
like when could you buy a $800 TIG machine that works very well?
Right.
You could watch a YouTube video on how to use it.
Yeah.
You know, you could watch
Yeah.
like a metal fabricator and understand like the general tools that you need to do something.
Mhm.
You know, like there's just this huge explosion. And then on top of it, I heard you say one time in an interview or something where a motorcycle building was kind of like a poker hand, right? Like you kind of kept it close to your chest until it was time to show the world.
True,
Like
true.
there was not, like people weren't like, here's exactly how I'm doing everything, you know?
Yeah.
Like, feel free to copy.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right because you could, you know,
Yeah.
and you didn't want it to. You didn't want to show anybody anything until it came out in the magazine,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or you were at some big event because
Yeah.
then it was like, ta-da! You know, you had no idea I was
Yeah.
making that little dumb bracket that's like mind bending.
Yeah.
What a
You know,
great analogy,
and
the
they-
poker hand.
Yeah.
The I think you made it sound even better than when I said it. but yeah, the fact is that you know you can't do that anymore.
Right.
And really, what's the point? Because I mean, showing the process is part of I think what people gravitate to these days because
Yeah.
they get excited about it.
Right.
Sure.
And it's really flipped. But even saying things like what you just said in the beginning about you know getting a good price on a welder, going to YouTube to get some tips and tricks and really you know like, kind of working to be more proficient at the skill you know through those means. Those are sort of like dirty words a few years ago. You know,
Yeah.
you YouTubed it or you looked it
Sure.
up or whatever.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think people have been, you know, taking that approach and not sort of like. I think it's been used well. You know,
Yeah.
I think it's
Sure.
It's over the years that has become something where it's not just shitty information all the time. It's not
Yeah.
all misinformation,
Yeah.
and there's some quality guidance.
Yeah.
That's just how you access it these days. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody doesn't have like stacks of paper catalogs and manuals
Yeah.
and have to wait until some old guy fucking shows them how to
Right.
turn the machine on and you
Yeah.
know, where to pick the thing up. Because there is quality information and there didn't used to be. It used to just be a bunch of half-ass bullshit.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like you have like you could get the machine and then you watch the video to like how to turn it on and how to set it up and you know what your stick out should be on your torch and all this stuff. And that might just be enough gasoline on the fire to like, all right, now you're gonna run with it.
Right,
you know,
right.
like that's gonna send you on a different trajectory.
Mhm.
Whereas when you were in the shop with the TIG welder right here, with you know no
Yeah.
real idea how to operate it, or maybe it's intimidating or what, you know, maybe that internet video is just that little bridge to get somebody out of, you know, in a
Yeah.
more
Get
comfortable.
Because it took years of being around the damn thing until
Sure.
we
Yeah.
finally figured we'll just
Yeah.
try to stick something together.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, we'll
Start
try
turning
a
knobs.
different one. Start turning knobs. Yeah, the big
Yeah.
the big analog knobs.
Yep. Was yours a liquid torch, that Lindy? Do you remember?
It had a cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was yellow though. You said yours was green.
Mine was green, yeah. I didn't even have money for a cooler, so you know what I did? I used to fucking run the garden hose in the torch and then the exit right out of the street. And yes,
It was a total
it was
loss.
just flowing fun. Yeah, total loss.
system.
Total loss
Oh, yeah.
system. Yeah, I was like, I can't buy a cooler. I barely afford this machine, dude. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
So funny.
Yep. But like even then, like the first few years I had that machine, it was like before internet. I didn't even know another TIG welder. Like just to find the fucking thing, I had to
Sure.
drive to South Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could have bought one new, but that was unobtainium for me at the time as like a 20-year-old kid. And yeah, it was like I didn't even meet another guy who even knew how to TIG weld for like years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was like crazy. Like Rick said, like learning was not easy back then. You know, like you had to fuck a lot of shit up.
Mhm. Yeah, literally, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
But
no, I think there's room for that these days. I think it's gotten to the point that that's, you know, totally a viable way of at least getting your foot in the door, and then what you do with it from that point forward is up to you. But
right.
But you know, the fear is you know, poor information and things that people feed off of or learn from that's incorrect. And I think there's enough good stuff out there that's not so much of a problem.
Yeah.
Mm.
And people just seem to be a little bit smarter these days too.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, like, I think even people before making informative YouTube videos now think to themselves, like, you better have proper information. Whereas, like, you used to see a lot of fucking idiots on the internet, you know?
Well, there's
They-
enough old guys on the internet screaming into the machine, letting you know
That's
that you're
incorrect.
an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah, people sure are fast to let you know when you're fucking up.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, they love telling you how bad you're doing. But, yeah, I don't know. I guess that brings us right into modern day, man.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting to see what this place really develops into.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see all the artists
Yeah,
here and all that, man.
Yeah, it should be a pretty cool vibe.
Yeah.
It'll be cool. Yeah, and then art shows above the shop. The space up there that I showed you is the art gallery, so you know, it's gonna be planning shows up there,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, maybe we'll do like a little bike event in the area or something, or yeah, who knows? 'Cause
Oh yeah, we'd definitely love
Dude,
to come
this-
right back up.
This place fucking screams perfect for a winter event, man. Like a Mama Tribe kind of, you know, like something in the winter, you know.
right.
It's such a killer indoor space, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, summertime cool too,
Yeah.
but it's got there's not too many places that have the means to have a pulse indoors, you
Mhm.
know.
True.
I feel like this place has a pulse. But
Yeah.
whatever it
It's
is,
good, yeah.
man, I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see what you turn this place into.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
it's awesome, man. I appreciate your time and giving us this tour too.
Yeah,
It's
certainly.
fucking awesome, man.
Sure.
It's great.
Me and Rick are always stoked to see cool shops, but this pretty much tops it, man. This is a really cool place. There's a lot of cool stuff in here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Thanks,
and
man.
yeah, I can't think of a fucking better guest for the 100th episode, man.
Oh,
You have
it's
exceeded
awesome.
the expectation. You know?
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
No, it was nice of you guys to come out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we appreciate
I
it.
enjoyed talking to you.
It's our pleasure. But anything you want to tell anyone? Where to reach you?
100th episode. That's awesome.
Yeah, 100th episode,
Congratulations.
dude. I'll during this week sometime, I'm gonna do all the giveaway shit in the intro. Everyone will see it in the intro. You
Yeah.
know? But yeah, I was kind of talking about it for a while. I'm like, I'm gonna get a fucking killer guest for the 100th,
You
and
got me
here you
instead.
are, dude. Yeah. Yeah, I've looked up to you for years, man. I think it's fucking rad as hell to be
that's
sitting
nice
here
of you.
talking to you.
We've been trying to connect for a long time, so glad it
Yeah.
finally worked out. You know?
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
I think it worked out perfect. It wouldn't have been as special if it was like the 85th episode. You know?
Yeah, we got a great guest for the 100th. Some
Yeah.
East Coast representation on top of it. That's
Yeah.
a win-win in my book.
Fuck yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, man, you want to just tell people where to reach you, or maybe something you got going on in the future, like you're still selling the airbag kits, or
Yeah,
you
originally.
got any other products coming?
When I get the website back together, I'll have some new things on there. And speaking of shows, I'm probably going to be finishing up this BMW project and bringing it over to the hand-built,
Nice, in Texas.
I believe. Yeah, I think that's the plan there. So looking out for that. Otherwise, you know, just keeping an eye on what's coming up. I got like probably 8 or 10 bikes out there and a few in here that are all real close to getting done. So you know, it's kind of an exciting time for that. Coming into spring and summer, I'm going to have some new stuff hitting the road for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Will I see you at the FXR Jam? You're like right here now.
Maybe. I know I'm like an hour away.
Yeah.
Yeah. I rode Medina to the FXR Jam last week.
Yeah. What was it,
I
2
don't know.
years ago? I thought you had a shovelhead FXR there. Was it 2 years ago?
No.
I thought you had like a black
Uh-uh.
and gold. I thought it was a shovelhead FXR you were on.
No, I didn't
No?
know
What the fuck am I thinking of then? Oh,
I don't know.
I don't know. Who knows? That was definitely a drinking year.
It's a fun show, though.
But anyways, yeah, I guess people see you where they see it.
Yeah, man.
What is it, Paul Cox Industries on Instagram?
Yeah, Paul Cox Industries.
Okay.
And get the shop finished up over here and get the storefront built out so that, people will know where I am, and the door's going to be locked. So don't bother trying to come in.
Right. Perfect. And not for nothing, if they haven't heard of you, they're probably living under a fucking rock. Anyways, man, thank you so much again, Paul.
Sure.
Appreciate the time, appreciate the tour, and I'll see you guys next week. Good luck to whoever's gonna win all this cool shit on the 100th giveaway. And actually, at this point, it's the end of the show. Congratulations to whoever won.
Yeah, there you
Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
I forget there was a camera there the whole time.
Yeah, it's
Was I
there.
supposed to be looking at that for the past 2 hours?
I don't even think I looked at it twice. I never look at it.
Oh.
I tell people pretend it's not even there. But yeah, all right. Goodbye, world. See you next week.